Ready? I would like to reconvene this Washington Unified School District Regular Board of Education meeting for May 25th, 2017. Let the record reflect that all board trustees are present. And we have the Pledge of Allegiance. Kevin Bracey, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ready? What? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, approval of or announcement of action taken in closed session. We have E1 Government Code Section 54957.6, conference with labor negotiators, WTA, CSCA, information received. We have E2 Government Code 54956.9, pending or potential litigation, information was received. And at this time, we have the approval of the agenda. But I would like to propose that we move up, since we have one board trustee who is not feeling well and we're not sure is going to make it through this meeting. We have quite a big audience too. So I'd like to propose we move up P3, which is board discussion and direction for relationship with James Marshall Parent Participation Preschool Program, that we move that to right before our information discussion item. So after board and superintendent comments. Okay. And do we have one other change, Superintendent Luna?
I do. President Kirby Gonzalez, we have two changes on the consent agenda. One is a correction on consent agenda item 0.4, the approval of certificated HR recommendations. There is a teacher being brought back from the 39-month rehire, and the location is to be determined, and that's the correction, to be determined. The second one is I would request for the board to pull item on the consent agenda item 0.11, approval of independent contract agreement with Life Changer International, Kevin Bracey, for the next school year, so that we could hear a little bit more about the program.
Okay, why don't we move that to right after, how about P3 or right before? Any comments? Let's do it before. We have it. Okay, so we'll do it right before, after board and superintendent comments. Okay, with those changes, can I have a motion to approve? And do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so a motion was made by Board Trustee Pizzotti and seconded by Board Trustee Cruz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye. Okay, and that takes us to celebrations. And we have recognition of the 2017 River City High School Top 10 Seniors. And can we have Principal Sam Moisich come up, please?
Thank you, President Kirby Gonzalez. Thank you, board members, once again for acknowledging some of our most outstanding people here in West Sacramento. Tonight, we have the top 10 seniors, meaning these students have the top 10 grade point averages at River City High School. So you can only imagine the effort, the dedication, all the hard work, all the sacrifice that went into this. So we're going to honor them here tonight, and I am joined by my superintendent, Ms. Linda Lunda, who I think has got some wonderful gifts to give to these students.
Thank you, Principal Moisich, and Board of Trustees. In just a moment, we'll ask that all of you join us down here. What we want to do is send off our top 10 seniors, meaning they have the highest grade point average of their senior class upon their graduation. What we want to do is send them off to their colleges. They're all attending a four-year institution. And so we have their new college banner and a little gift card for them that all college students use, which is Jamba Juice. So what we have here, so one student is going to UCLA, so we have their UCLA banner for them, and also, of course, a certificate of academic excellence. So if you'll join us here, Principal Moisich will call out their names.
First off, we have Asid Mahmood. Erica Guan. Laura Asatrian. Our student board member for River City High School, Vikram Kelkar. Claire Hoffman. Sergey Ignatsko. Melissa Sweeney. Emily Sue. Evan Taylor. Kara Talbot.
Face this way, please. All right, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for being here so we could honor you tonight. Very proud of you and excited to see you soon at graduation. Next, we have J2, which is the River City High School swim team wins the Tri-County Conference Championships. And again, Principal Sam Wasich.
I have to start off by saying this is their third consecutive Tri-County Conference Championship for girls and boys. So I'm going to ask Coach Ryan Mosley, better known as Mo, to kind of come on up here and join me.
All right. Appreciate the opportunity, and we'll call the swimmers up. Elizabeth Barron. Alexis Villanueva. Alice Golioski. Anastasia. Andrea Hernandez. Carrie Swartzky. Star Mara. Jenna Dozier. Jessica Dozier. Jocelyn Colorado. Julia Altringer. Again, Kara Talbot. Kelly Rydell. Kylie O'Hara. Malaya Castro. May Diaz. Melina Cavett. Samantha Backus. Vivianca Calderon. Lily Stahl. And Michelle Kamishin. Sorry, there's more. Hold on. Stay where you are. We had another list. Are they separated by guys? There's no guys. Oh, there's only girls certificates? Yeah. All right, guys. Go with the flow. Jonathan Miles. Gonzo. Rusty. Andrew. The goalie. The freshman. Alex. Did I miss any? Oh, sorry. Come on up, Mark. Sorry.
All right, everyone face me, right here. Make sure you can see the camera. On three. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
I also have a certificate for Coach Ryan Mosley. And his assistants Jennifer Allender and Brandon Backmeyer. If you want to give those to those. So here's the envelope, and you can switch them on.
We're going to stay down here. This is much easier. So next we have J3, which is recognition of Sean Shivers from River City High School.
So I'm joined up here by junior Sean Shivers. Sean has been selected to represent Team USA and West Sacramento. I believe he is the only student in Yolo County that might be representing us. He's going to Barcelona, Spain, and he's going to take part as a national representative of the World Student Basketball Tourney. And so I wish you a lot of luck over in Barcelona, Sean. I think I know basketball is fun, and I know how much of a passion it is. You've been a 3-year player at the River City High School program, and you've been outstanding athlete and student and citizen. And I know you're going to represent our country and our city well over there. And we're looking forward to your safe return home when it all comes down. And we look forward to all the adventures that you tell us. So congratulations, Sean, and all the best.
So, Sean, we want to send you off well. We don't know if you've ever traveled abroad like that, but what the board and I would like to do is send you with a good traveling bag that has WUSD water bottle, because you're going to need water over there, but there's some other important things of traveling as a young person inside this backpack to send you off well. So congratulations. We're really proud of you.
Can I say something? I would just like to thank everyone that supported me. I think Julie donated. A lot of people, Coach Briscoe, he's not here today, but he really helped get me where I am today. And just really like to thank my mom and my sister. It wouldn't be possible without you guys. I love you guys.
Our last celebration tonight is to honor our school board members who have served so faithfully and so incredibly well this year. This is the first time that our district has included all high schools to be represented as a student board member. And so we want to honor them and send them off well as they get ready for graduation next week. So first, we'd like to call up our Yolo High School student board member, Christian Cabrera, who's going to be attending Los Rios Community College. Oh, and here's. Our second student board member for the first time from West Sacramento Early College Prep Charter High School, James Kirshner. James is also attending Los Rios Community College. And our other student board member from River City High School, who will be attending UC San Diego, or San Diego State. Which one is that? UC San Diego. Sorry, I got to make sure I have that right. Vikram Keller.
Okay. After all those fabulous celebrations, we now have a student board member report, Christian Cabrera from Yolo High School.
Good evening, everybody. Alrighty, for Yolo High School, we had Cordy Stock from Good Day Sacramento come to put a spotlight on Yolo's one-wall handball team that needs funding to build the right wall for Yolo handball team. Ooh, nervous. Staff started off the month giving students a warm gesture and greeting them when they entered campus on May 1st. YOLO students had much fun with Kinders Go to College event at Sac City College, West Sacramento campus. Kinders enjoyed their first college experience. Our high school students received information in college readiness. The Santa Cruz trip was a success. Everyone had an amazing time on the beach and on the boardwalk. Students enjoyed hot dogs and hamburgers while having our feet in the sand, relaxing by the ocean water, stress-free for at least a day. YOLO is celebrating the school year with the graduation rate increased by 22% high school graduates and 65% for Washington adult education. Everyone is invited to YOLO's graduation at the Crest Theater May 31st at 7 p.m. River City High School. As we wind down the school year, there is only one River City sports still competing in this section playoffs. The River City Lady Raiders softball team is one of the 3 remaining Division I teams still competing for our section championship. In softball, they go to a double elimination format once you reach their final 4 teams in each division. On Tuesday night, the Raiders lost to the Sheldon Huskies 4-2. This meant that the Raiders had to play off an elimination game right after their loss. In that game, the Raiders fell behind 7-2 to Oak Ridge. The Raiders battled back to win a 2-run homer and a grand slam. The Raiders went to a win 12-7. The Raiders will play tonight in another elimination game versus the loser of Tracy Sheldon. Graduation will be held at Rayleigh Field at 7 p.m. And everybody is welcome. West Sac Charter Prep or Washington Middle College High School. Seniors are finishing up their finals this week and are looking forward to their senior trip to Great America next Tuesday. They got to visit Yolo County Courthouse this past Wednesday for a visit to the election department and other divisions. All students got their tour of the Sacramento City College main campus, as well as visit the SEC extension at UC Davis 2 weeks ago. The senior class of 2017 would like to invite the board and cabinet to their graduation ceremony next Thursday, the 1st, at Bright College and Career Training Center from 5 to 6. As a transition from West Sac Charter Prep to Washington Middle College High School, several exciting things are happening. They unveiled their new logo last week. Staff and students are excited to be able to share their Panther pride more effectively as we move forward. Continuing students are registering for fall college courses like Spanish, yoga, ethnic studies, and more. Painting and repairs to the school have begun, and Panthers would like to thank everyone at the district and community for their hard work and support to Washington Middle College High School. Enrollment is moving along. With a few interviews and tours taking place this week, we still have spots at all grade levels, so keep spreading the word about our awesome opportunities for students. For Stonegate Elementary, at open house on Wednesday, May 10th, 6th and 8th graders, students participate in the Battle of the Books. Between the students, who are 35 teams of 8 students each, they read 30 novels and answered questions from the books. Battles began April 24th, and the final 4 competed at open house. Stonegate's 10 K-5 STEM Club wrapped up Tuesday, May 23rd, after 8 weeks of activities based around science, technology, engineering, and math. We had over 130 students participate at the club, was led by 5 teachers, Ms. Tran, Ms. Darich, Ms. Rasky, Ms. Perney, and Ms. Williams. Our outreach specialist, Ms. Jasquez, and our assistant principal, Mr. Forsman. 3rd grade had their pioneer day last Friday, May 19th, where students experienced activities like panning for gold, washing clothes on the washboard, and writing on slates. They could especially like to thank the board vice president, Kobe Pozzotti, for coming and joining them on our activities. 4th graders will be hosting California's Day on Tuesday, May 30th, events which include parent appreciation breakfast, folk song and dance, photo booth, and catered lunches for Dickies. Ridgeway Island. National Junior Honor Society is going on the field trip to Berkeley to check out the college May 25th. Friday, May 26th, the whole school gets go crazy and wear their wacky, crazy, and fun for Spirit Week and Crazy Hair Day. And from May 23rd to June 1st, Ridgeway Island's end of the year award assemblies for K through 8. 8th grade promotion will take place on June 1st. Westfield Village had 2 Westfield students were nominated for the most outstanding and most improved at the Senate District 6 annual Capitol graduation. Westfield has participated in Kinders Go to College event on the 19th, and Elkhorn had sent their 8th graders as youth members. That will complete my student report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we are on to our board comments and board trustee.
WTA.
Oh,
WTA and CSEA.
just skipped around a little bit. Sorry. I should mention, it was my last day of school today with my own students, and it's been a long day. But yes, please come up for our highlight, the WTA report. Don Stoffer. I apologize.
Good evening. Sorry, I've been reading Thomas Friedman again, and he talks in a recent column about difficulties that employers are having nationwide in hiring. And specifically, what they're having difficulty with is finding job candidates with the right soft skills. And these can be defined as the ability to get up, dress up, show up on time, and never give up. And he continues on speaking about employers he interviewed in Kentucky and who look for candidates with 4-H or FFA backgrounds, as these are good indicators of hires that will have the requisite soft skills. So I think that speaks well about Washington Unified's new program, and I hope we continue with things of that nature. As this year is winding down, a couple things stand out among our Washington Unified certificated staff. There's ongoing concerns with student discipline, and that's pretty much across the district at every site. And so I'm hoping, and you know, I know I'm kind of a broken record on this, but I'm really looking forward to you know, comprehensive work on this next year. Not just we expect you to do X, Y, and Z, but as all of us together, and really want to make it so that teachers feel that they're getting the support they need, students are getting the extra services they need so that they can succeed. Also, from certificated. There's a lot of, I don't know if anxiety is the right word, but at least interest in the new curriculum rollouts that are occurring. And I get questions like, will I have enough time this summer to learn what I need to do so I can get started in the fall? What if I want to use material that's not in the new textbook? And when am I going to be able to meet with my colleagues to plan? So these are all positive things. These are teachers wanting to do well. And from what I can see, our overworked ed services staff is working very hard on this. And they're doing all they can to make sure that this rollout is being planned appropriately and with lots of support for our teaching staff. Additionally, our teachers have definitely been part of this process from the beginning and will be playing a major role in making sure the curriculum is a success. And with that, thank you.
Thank you very much for that, and I apologize again for skipping. And do we have a CSEA report tonight? Is there someone from CSEA? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Then that will take us to public comments. And before we do that, I want to read our public comment section that comes with our board agenda. And that is, at this time, members of the public may address the board on topics that are under the jurisdiction of the board and are not on the agenda, although the board, by law, may not take action at this meeting. The board may limit the total time for public input on any topic to 20 minutes unless it chooses to waive the item limit for a particular item. Individual speakers may be limited to 3 minutes to comment on a topic. Public comments consisting of individual charges, complaints, or derogatory remarks about any district employee are requests to be submitted in writing to the administration in accordance with the district's complaint procedure. We do recognize that for a lot of people, commenting before the board and the audience and the people watching at home on television is a nerve-wracking experience. So to try to make that as easy as possible, we do ask that there are not any applause or booing or catcalling or any other demonstrations, and that we maintain a civil discourse here in the chambers. Also, if we were in a different setting, I would come over to you before pronouncing your name and I would say, how do I pronounce this? And tonight I don't have that luxury. So if I mispronounce your name, I'm sorry. Sometimes it's hard to read and sometimes I don't know how to pronounce it. So apologize in advance. Okay, so that takes us to public comment. And we have Danny Therical. All right.
Hello. My name is Danny Therical. I'm here to address the board on two separate issues I think the board should address. The first is Senior Ditch Day. We've all heard of it. It's always something that's happening every year. Students, seniors want to do it. For those that are not familiar with it, it's when the senior class decides to ditch school altogether and do a separate activity on their own with their friends. And that is a major concern. One, safety reasons, of course. Students leaving campus when they're supposed to be at school, and also as well as a concern of funding. When students aren't in school, schools lose money because of that. And so those are two big reasons. But I can't remember the punishment, I hate using that word, for students leaving on that day is that they do not get to walk during graduation, which I think is ridiculous to say that on one day that they do not get to walk, when many of these families here give pride to that day because it is a big accomplishment. And so I don't propose making Senior Ditch Day okay. I definitely think that it is a problem that needs just to be addressed. And I propose that we change the idea of Senior Ditch Day where seniors don't ditch campus, but instead just ditch class and then have the school or the school plan a senior activity. So there is a senior sunrise for the morning, there's a senior sunset, and there's senior field trip. But how about something on campus as a senior day, a senior hangout, senior lunch, that will encourage students to be on campus, just not in the class, and kind of derive students from leaving campus altogether. We could partner with we could partner with the city of West Sacramento because the pool is just right there. We can open the pool, have a barbecue out in the field, a picnic day. work with our Chamber of Commerce to get vendors out there to sell products or food. It could be a fun day, and I think it would be a nice alternative to restricting students from not being able to walk at graduation. The second issue that I think the board should address, completely different, is visitor registration. I, as well as board member Alcala, we have gone to high schools in the area, and we have pre-registered and registered students, 16, 17, voter registration for ages 16, 17, pre-registration, and registering seniors as well. And going to these different high schools, what I've noticed compared to River City High School is how visitors are registered. At River City High School, they are given basically a name tag. They say who they are, they get a name tag, they ask who they're going to, and they're confirmed that way. To me, that is a security concern. Oh, no. Am I okay? Or do I
Yeah,
just stop?
I'm gonna ask you to just wrap it up, but you can also, of course, email all of us, whatever else you want to say. So if you can wrap it up in a couple sentences and.
That compared to another high school in Natomas, they get you a printed sticker badge with your actual face on there. They require you to hand over their IDs to confirm you are who they are. You are who you are. And they even have a barcode scan so that campus aides can scan that badge to confirm you're here on the correct day and for the right reasons. So I think that's something that the board should take into consideration for the next upcoming school year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for being here. All right, now that takes us to our board and superintendent comments. So Board Trustee Wong.
Hello? Okay, sorry about that. It was not my last day of school. I just have OLD disease. For those of you who know what that is. And none of you all. You are young and beautiful. So I had the pleasure of going with President Kirby Gonzalez and Babs Sandine to UC Davis's Ignite meeting, where we actually we're trying to inspire young women to consider running for office and talk about our experience here. And I was really proud of kind of how we actually showed a lot of unity and kind of inspired other young people to consider civic engagement. And Babs actually used your story, Danny, about how we once you're 18, you should just kind of be out there and register and take the leap of faith and run on what you believe. So I was really excited, and that really kind of invigorated and reminded me why we're here, and it's for the kids in the community. And so really appreciate that time with President Kirby Gonzalez as well as Council Member Sandine. I also was able to represent Washington Unified School District as a CSBA delegate, the place to be, the CSBA delegation assembly across from some other thing that was happening across the street. So, and that was fascinating. Thank you all for encouraging me to apply, and I was able to represent us at this delegate assembly. I'm going to actually hand over a couple of things that I want to put in our library, but they actually gave us a kind of a roadmap of 8 things they thought would be good in terms of policy adoption that we should consider as we are entering this age of local control funding formula. The 8 kind of, they call it the 8 elements for success, right? So I'm just going to read them off real quickly, and we can read them later. Is that 1, having a rigorous, well-rounded, and relevant curriculum, academic support to improve achievement, staff with the skills, competencies, and knowledge to promote student success, early support and services, education assistance for families to support and guide learning, physical, mental, and environmental health supports, 21st century infrastructure and technology, and services for students with specific needs. So that was kind of their roadmap that they introduced to the delegate assembly, and I'm going to put that in the in our library, as well as they also had lots of discussions about what equity meant, right? What was the purpose of LCFF and what equity meant? And so they've also kind of shared some reports that they've authored, and I wanted to share that a little bit with folks. And lastly, I get really nervous when I talk. I won't steal other people's comments, but I was able to attend the BITSA induction at Bridgeway, and it's always just really great to be around new teachers who, and presenting their culminating experience. It was just really great to just see them as an observer and kind of their love and passion for our students. At that event, was able to attend a lot of different staff appreciations and award ceremonies, and that was also very inspiring to see how many of our staff have touched the lives of communities and family members, so I appreciate that. Lastly, I also want to just acknowledge that May 26th is the beginning of Ramadan, and that we should actually be very cognizant that some of our students are actually day fasting at that time, and so hopefully we can make some accommodations, perhaps not serving pork on Friday, or just create a space for the folks to go, because sometimes it's tiring to day fast. So I just want to share that with folks, and that's it for me.
Thank you. Board Trustee Akala?
Thank you, Danny. Danny and I have been, in the last 2 weeks, out to some of the different high schools in Yola. We actually went out to Winters, and it's a registration of about 100 students there. And then we went to Davis Senior High for an assembly of 526 students who were also registered. So the civic engagement is very important. It's great that Sarah and Jackie have gone out to Dave's. When I was working for the legislature many years ago in 2000, there were many women in the Assembly, actually, and in the Senate at that time. And then I saw it diminish to almost nothing. So I think it's great that we really encourage not just our young people, but we also ask the young women in our community. It's really important that we have some parity in our legislature, especially when women contribute so much to our communities. So I'm going to keep my report really small because short because I'm not feeling too hot tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Trustee Cruz?
Thank you. I had the privilege of participating with our CSEA employees on ACEs. I know a few other board members are going to be doing some shadowing the next few days, and some of our administration have already done some. I had the privilege of hanging out at Westmore Oaks with our outreach specialist, and the outreach specialist position in our district, as well as many others, I can't say enough about what they do. I was only there for half a day, and I was wowed. I couldn't believe what they do on a daily basis. Ellie Leon, I'll give her a shout out, very welcoming. Westmore Oaks, the campus, very welcoming. The kids came up and talked. I was able to sit in on some conferences of truancy and talk little bit about the attendance that's going on in our district, and just to see Miss Leon in action is just really, really amazing. I mean, it just gave me, I have no idea. I mean, I know River City has one outreach specialist, and I'm like, one for 2,000 students? It's just very amazing. Officer Bowers came up and pulled up and took us on a home welfare check, which was very interesting because, Officer Bowers and the specialist just interacted with the families and just made sure everything was okay. And then we headed over to Riverbank, where I met the new principal, and I'm sorry, Miss Pfeiffer. She was so welcoming. She had some unexpected visitors, but she had that campus under control. She had people on the phone and still managed to come in and introduce herself, and it was just a very welcoming day. We went over there, the outreach specialist and Officer Bowers, we went and they actually gave gift cards to a couple of kids that missed a lot of school and had gone to school for the last 30 days. So they presented them with some gifts and some gift cards, and it was just a really great day just to see what these people do, not just for our families, but, adults that came in. It's the whole family. I mean, it's really sad that we have so many homeless families and children in our school district, but for these people, checking on them and getting their kids to school, whether they don't have a place to stay or food to eat, but they still manage to get their kids to school because of our staff checking on them. It was sad to hear Officer Bowers tell me that approximately 30 of our families are living in the hotels, but I will thank our local churches, a lot of our local churches step up and give vouchers and work. So it was very rewarding to go out there and see that how much staff and how much time is put in to make sure the kids have what they need, that they have a meal, make sure these families have what they need to get their kids to school. And, you know, a lot of them did not even know what an outreach specialist were, were the parents that came in. And they were really amazed to hear that we would be able to help them. So that was just a very rewarding day, and I encourage others to, if you get a chance, to spend the day with some of our outreach specialists and other staff. But I just wanted to share that. And on a more personal note, I would just want to thank the community, staff, and more than anything is the students. A lot of people have been contacting me saying, hey, we don't see you at these events. You're missing some meetings. What's going on? It just warms me that so many people care and so many students really see that I'm not around. And that's what I'm here for. And so I just want to let you know I'm okay, tired, but I have gone through some medical issues myself, so I may miss a meeting here or there. But I just want to thank everybody for thinking of me and asking. So thank you. And if I don't see many of you, have a good summer. We will see you at graduation.
Thank you. Board Vice President Pizzotti.
Thank you. Let's see. The first thing I think I can recall going to this in the last couple of weeks was, I think it's called the Capitol Graduation Event with Trustee Wong. That's why I was looking at you. I was like, we both went to this, except I had to leave early and you actually stayed.
And I got to butcher the names.
Right. That's right. That's why I was hoping I didn't have to say anything, because I was afraid of butchering the names. That was put on by Senator Pan, Assemblymember McCarty, and Assemblymember Cooper, and we had quite a few students from our district there that I could recall, and I believe it was K through 8, right? K-12. K-12. Let's see. Then, as it's already been stated, I did go to Pioneer Days, where I got to see the children pan for gold, wash their own clothes on a washing board and then wring them out. They were in school learning cursive on a little handheld chalkboard, as the old kids in the olden days and the Pioneer Days would have done. What else was there? Help me out, Jenna. What else was it?
They made pajamas, like the
Oh, that's right, little toys, and corn tortilla treats that had cinnamon, I believe. Anyway, it was awesome, and I actually did get to pan for gold and got a little gold nugget. That was awesome too. Anyway, I believe that was Miss Rasky's and Miss Reeves' class, right? Is that right? Thank you. Oh, and the other two as well? Right. So that was, it was a great day, and it was a lot of fun. Let's see. And then I believe on Monday, Jackie and I, it was Monday, right? Jackie.
Doesn't matter.
Sorry.
What day?
Sorry, doesn't matter what day. Trustee Wong and I went over the Board Policy Series 5000 with Superintendent Luna. And then, oh yeah, thank you, Dawn, for an invitation by WTA to Streets of London for the teacher appreciation. I appreciate that. It was good to see you there, except for I was hastily rushing off to go to the DEM convention basically all weekend long. And that's where I was basically all last weekend. And that was quite a long time. Anyway, and that's basically what I did in the last 2 weeks.
All right, thank you. There are no committee reports, although we do have a 2x2 meeting, which is coming up this next month. And yes, this is a busy time with a lot of events, and so I appreciate you bringing up that it is Ramadan right now, because we do have so many events that have dinner plans too, and so that's an important thing to be aware of, that some of our students aren't able to eat yet, with the time, so important to be aware of. And this is Classified Employee Week, and so we really thank all of our classified employees for all that they do. And I will also be job shadowing, although I have to trickle into next week for mine. Yeah, but I'm very excited for that. And so I really appreciated it. I don't know if all of our schools did this, but I know my daughter came home with a note that said, we're collecting items, so send in treats for our classified employees at our site. And I really appreciated that. And I see so many administrators in the room. So if you did that at your school, thank you. And if you didn't, maybe a note to take, because I thought that was really special. You know, leading off of Teacher Appreciation Week, when all those treats come in and things, it's nice to make sure that all of our employees really feel valued by the families. And parents don't always know to do that, right? Unless sometimes we send them a little reminder that just to send a thank you or a note. And the Kinders Go to College was a great event. I enjoyed being there. And so was our Elkhorn, or Westfield students, and then our Elkhorn students were mentors, as were some of our high school kids. And it touched my heart as we're kindergarten parents up here too, a couple of us, and they were very, very sweet. The young ones holding hands with the bigger kids. And we talked about, I know it's a lot of work to do that, and we appreciate Yolo County for all that they do to help organize that event. But maybe one day, closing down the street here and finding a way to get all of our kindergartners to college, I think would be a really special thing, because it was a great event. And as we go in and think about all of our celebrations, I won't go into all of that we've been to, but we can't always make them all, because there's a lot right now. And so I appreciate the board members we all try to get to as many as we can. And if we've missed one or an invitation, I apologize. But thank you for all the work that you're doing right now. This is such a busy time of year and such a special time of year to see all the work that you've poured in now kind of shining in your students before they head off to summer. So thank you again to everybody for all the work you've done, and have a wonderful summer, since we'll be here still in these board meetings if you want to come see us. But otherwise, we hope everyone enjoys their summer, and we hope our kids keep reading and writing this summer too about all of their adventures.
I'm not sure who puts together the ACES program, but I saw the list, and I want to make sure that we're represented at all school sites, because I noticed Elkhorn and Riverbank didn't have anybody going there to shadow. So I just want to, for equity purposes, make sure that we get people at all sites. I'm not sure who does that.
So that's coordinated through the HR department. So I'll make note of that and make sure that we're doing that for next year. And if we've got folks who still need to visit, we can try to target those schools. So I'll talk with Eileen in the morning.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, that takes us to our superintendent comments. Superintendent Linda Luna.
Thank you, President Kirby Gonzalez, Board of Trustees, Cabinet, staff, and audience. This evening, I just have a brief update, and you're right, it is an extremely busy time of year. And so because school is going to be out next week, it's really about celebrating our kids, celebrating our staff for working tirelessly throughout this school year on behalf of our kids. So the first thing I wanted to share with the board is that the West Sacramento Rotary Club spent one Friday over at the Bright College and Career Training Center. And our goal is to connect as many of our community members and our industries in our community with our high school students and with our high schools, with the concept of training our young adults and preparing them for the workforce as well as college. So it was a great, great luncheon. We were even joined by our county superintendent, Jesse Ortiz, who happened to come by and also get a little bit of that connection. I want to give a shout out to Renee Collins, our director of Bright College and Career Training, and also our teacher who just sold every adult in that room about our new FFA program, about the agri-sciences that are being studied with our students. And so it was a really great afternoon for our community to learn more about our district. We have been celebrating all of our employees, but I put this slide up here because we also celebrated 13 people that sometimes we don't mention, and those are our retirees. So 13 people are retiring from our school district this year, and we want to wish them all well of all their years of service to our district. I think one person is retiring from 38 years of service in Washington Unified School District. So we wish them well and thank them, and are very, very grateful for everything that they have done and all the years that they have given to serve our students. We had a really wonderful turnout at the Senate District 6, which is the annual Capital Graduation Night that Trustees Wong and Pizzotti were attending. I want to thank our principals for taking the effort and the time to truly shout out two of their students who may not necessarily have the highest GPA, but really are great students. And so they had the honor of being celebrated by Senator Pan, Assemblymember Cooper, and Assemblymember McCarty as well, and other dignitaries. So it was a really great evening. Also, we attended the Aloha Colloquium, which is our BITSA, or New Teacher Induction. And I give a shout out here to the people who made this happen, because all of the arrangement and the monitoring and the organization takes a lot of effort. And we have a program specialist named Rahale Adabaki. And Rahale is the one that makes sure that our new teachers do complete their induction that's required in the state of California, and that we have support mentors to go with our new teachers, which we know is so critical. When I started teaching in 1984, it was sink or swim. And we no longer know, we know that that doesn't work well. And so we have this wonderful program that the board and the district have chosen to continue. So a big shout out to Rahale, our support providers, and our first and second year teachers for a successful school year. Whoops. I also wanted to let the board know that we had a really wonderful parent advisory committee meeting, and this was our final meeting of the school year. And this particular committee has met for at least 7 times this school year. And it is a very large committee of a parent representative from every school site. We have certificated staff there, we have classified staff, and we have our school administration. And this particular parent advisory committee is the committee that monitors our district to make sure that our funds are being allocated to exactly where they're supposed to be to raise the achievement of our schools. So I want to thank them for some pretty difficult, hard work. Now, what they've done is review the LCAP, and they're going to go through this 106 pages. So they're going to review through the LCAP prior to the public hearing and before the board gets it, because the board wants to make sure that the Parent Advisory Committee has blessed it and agrees with it. So one of the things we talked about was what is an LCAP, and there's no question, if you ask any parent who has served on this Parent Advisory Committee meeting, there are 3 purposes for this LCAP and our funding formula. And one, that's to ensure that our students are progressing in their academic performance. Secondly, to ensure that our kids are ready for college and career. And thirdly, to assure that all of our dollars of our district are allocated to the needs of our students in our district. So that, I can tell you, I promise you, that the Parent Advisory Committee does know that. These are the 5 goals that we have in Washington Unified School District. Now, those 5 goals, each of them has actions underneath that are very similar to our strategic plan. This year, we have aligned our strategic plan with our LCAP. And so it's a living document that is meaningful in both arenas there. So I also wanted to let the board know that I attended what we call the Band Spring Jubilee. And, you know, this is our 5th grade and middle school band program. And this is only from one teacher, and this is Dolores Henson, who teaches at Stonegate and Bridgeway Island. So I walk into River City High School, and let me tell you, it was a packed house. It was a packed house. And the students, that's just half of the students there between the two schools. So what I'm saying to the board is that the investment that the board has made in visual and performing arts, we are growing. We are growing still. And as a music educator, I can tell you that this isn't just rinky-dink music. This is high quality instruction, high quality music that the kids are playing, high quality discipline as they are performers and audience as well. So really proud of the kids, and they sounded great. So shout out to Dolores Henson, who's one of our music teachers, and also to the parents and the guardians who are just there being the champs. Westfield kinder students did go to college, and they spent a whole day at college over at the Sacramento City College Center. And I want to thank Sac City Community College, particularly Dean Art Pimentel, who really championed this particular event, and also our Yolo County Office of Education to make sure that our kids had a really wonderful experience. Special thanks also to our high school students at River City and Yolo High School, and then our 8th graders at Elkhorn, who were the mentors. At Rayleigh Field, we celebrated our Employees of the Year as well. So we had a really good time out there, great weather. A lot of our families not only were sitting in the stands, but also took advantage of the community grass area where we had a lot of people out there. I think Principal Kingsbury was out there. We saw Matt Ainsworth out there, who's the future principal of Southport. So lots of families out there with staff. So this week is Classified Employee Appreciation Week, and I got to tell you, I want to give a huge shout out. I was so enthralled with what he was teaching me, I didn't even take a selfie with him. I had the privilege of being a crossing guard, and let me tell you, Bridgeway Island was very kind to me because they didn't put me at the most busy crosswalk, let me say. So they put me at a crosswalk with Victor Lopez, and a shout out to Victor Lopez, because that man knows every single parent, every single student that crosses that entire intersection. And they are personal with him. They give him food. They appreciate him. They just love him for the work that he does for our Bridgeway Island students. Also, I'm going to be doing a job shadow also on a bus ride. So I had to reschedule that, but I'm going to be doing that this summer and taking a bus ride out to Woodland to our Green Gate School. Now, many of us as staff went out to do Classified Appreciation Week, but I think somebody had just a little bit too much fun there. So I just wanted to thank also Yorgos for going out there. He was serving at 6 o'clock in the morning with the groundskeepers. And had I known that would have been an opportunity for me, I think next year I would love to be able to job shadow a groundskeeper. I don't know that would be a very safe thing to do for me or the groundskeepers, but I just want to give a shout out that we really are trying to be out there and appreciating what our employees are doing. Want to let the board know that through our LCAP, we are designating time to give extra time, extra instruction to our students who need that extra time. And so last year we started and brought back our summer school. We continue our English Learner Program, but I want to let you know that we're going to do a second year of our Summer Bridge program where all of our incoming 9th graders going to River City, so they're currently at 8th grade, can come in the summer to kind of get like a boot camp, get a little bit of just some front loading of just this is what you can expect, and here's what's happening, and here's the campus. So there's also some bridging on the area of math, I believe, for this coming year. Also want to let you know that we're going to continue offering credit recovery, and these are for students in 10th through going in to be a senior who need the extra support, who maybe failed a class or maybe got a D or D minus. This is the time to give them the extra support for their core classes. So again, we are also offering English Learner development time, because we know the research says our English learners need more time to acquire the language and acquire the skills. So Riverbank and River City are going to be very busy campuses, so we would welcome you to go and visit, and we will let you know when there's an end of summer program celebration, because we always love to go and see what the kids have accomplished. Here are our 8th grade promotion ceremonies, and we're all not going to be there at the same time. So just wanted to put that on the board's radar. If you are available on those dates and times, we're going to, as cabinet, we will divide up and try to be represented at each school as our students get ready to go to high school, and for Westfield, that they get ready to go to Elkhorn. Our high school graduation, as you have heard earlier, we know it's on your calendar and on your books, and we're just so excited for them next week, so excited. And we're excited to do, for the first time in our district, a senior walk on May 31st. The kids are getting more and more excited, and I've asked our administration to YouTube this. If you don't know what a senior walk is, you're going to want to YouTube that, because it's pretty touching. It's very, very touching. Some of the schools are having some of the seniors speak at an assembly to their kids. Some of them are just going to do the whole school train of high-fiving them in their cap and gown. Each school is going to have a special part in it. I'll be at Riverbank that morning for the senior walk, so we're really excited for this really memorable opportunity. Lastly, I want to just end that we're really, really excited for June 2nd. Now, the kids won't be at school anymore, so parents beware. Students will be on summer break on June 2nd. However, we, as all staff, will be working and having some time together. Just coming in our jeans or our shorts and T-shirts, and just letting our hair down to enjoy some learning time, reflection time, some growth time to take with us as we go into summer break and think about our new class and our new students for the following year. Want to invite the board, you got to eat, so that morning, the time to come when we're all going to be congregating together as a district is at 7:15 to 7:45 for breakfast. The famous breakfast burritos will be served. And then at 12 o'clock, we're having a barbecue, and we're inviting every employee who's working that day to join all of us at River City so that we can just be together as a family. So June 2nd is a pretty exciting day, and we have lots of people helping and supporting us. The teachers have been working hard in cadres to determine what this should be. Administration's working hard on that. Our new curriculum will be here that day. Teachers will have in their hands the new language arts curriculum for that training that morning. So we're really excited. And that's my report today.
Thank you. Superintendent Luna, can we get a schedule of the senior walk, maybe what schools or if there is one, so that we can touch base with that? And big shout out to the Parent Advisory Committee too. I think that's where that idea came out of, so very exciting. And I also had a staff member reach out to me recently who was years ago actually a Yolo County Teacher of the Year. She won from the district and then went on and won at the county, which is a really big deal. And she said, all I got was a certificate in the mail. And now we do so much. Now you're down on the River Cat Stadium. You're over here. You're over there. And so just a huge kudos to all the staff because, and to HR for really making the effort to really do some great things for staff and to show how much we appreciate them, because we do. All right, and then we moved up two of our agenda items. We moved up P3 and O11. Those will both go before the information and discussion items. So I think first we'll do O11, which is approval of independent contract agreement with Life Changers International. Would you like to say a few words? Okay. Jerry Smith and Kevin Bracey. Okay.
Good evening, President Kirby Gonzalez, board members. It's my pleasure to, first of all, thank you for allowing us to pull off O11 so we could introduce and give you a little bit more detail about our anti-bullying program. 3.5 years ago when I came here, I was given the charge to find a program that we thought would be really useful for our kids and giving them good messages district-wide. As luck would have it, when I started doing my research, I ran into a person who I'd luckily, as a high school principal years before, had the opportunity to work with, and I knew right away it was going to be a really good match for our district. And it's hard to believe it's already been 3.5 years. Before you tonight, you have the MOU for a fourth year of work with Kevin Bracey and the Reach One program. I know Kevin's here because Kevin's Kevin, and I want you guys to hear about Kevin, but I do want you to hear that in the last 3.5 years, our data shows that we've had a 68% drop in the number of suspected bullying reports in this district. The concentration, for the most part, has been at the K-8 level. Done small amount of work with River City and Yolo High School, but with the contract this year, part of the agreement is that we're going to have a more advanced work with River City High School, Yolo High School, and also Washington Middle College High School. So without further ado, I think I will introduce Kevin, and his assistant Susan Schultz will be bringing by to you a packet that also shows not only, as Kevin's talking about the program, but shows you a lot of the playbooks, lesson plans, et cetera, that are given to the students and the teachers that are used in the classroom. Kevin.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. My name is Kevin Bracey. I was born and raised here in Sacramento. I have a passion for the city of Sacramento, so I feel very grateful to get the opportunity to do work locally where there are requests to take the program all around the country, but it's very important for us to stay local and make an impact in Sacramento. Our goal is to impact the behavior of students in 6 areas. It starts at home. Everything starts at home, right? And then it moves into the classroom. From the classroom, the third area is on campus outside of the classroom, in the halls, in the lunchroom, in the library, then in your extracurricular activities, whatever that might be for students, then in our community, and then the 6th area is in the social media world. So those are the 6 areas that everything we do, we want to impact those 6 areas. And how we do it at the 6-8 level is step 1 is we start off with an all-school assembly. And that all-school assembly is to give everybody in that room an idea, a 30,000-foot view of what the message is all about and what our chants are all about, so that everybody feels that they are a part of the program. They're a part of the team, right? And then after that assembly, step 2 is to take 30 to 50 of those students, picked by the administrators and by teachers, 30 to 50 of those students to create the club on campus called the Reach One Alliance. In those 30 to 50 students, their goal is 5 things. They are responsible for the kindness, spreading the kindness, the compassion, practicing inclusion, service to the campus and to the community, and greatness, meaning the best version of themselves. So those 30 to 50 are the Reach One Alliance Club. Now, step 2 is also to do an empathy training with those 30 to 50 students. Why empathy training? Because the goal, to keep it really simple, the goal is you see me and I see you, but what we don't know is what's going on in someone else's life. So the goal of that empathy training is to understand, let's not judge each other, let's get to know one another. That's the entire goal of that empathy training. And then when they're done with that empathy training, they truly do see each other in a whole different light. Step 3 is a workshop. Why the workshop? The workshop is to teach the students, the 30 to 50 students, how to operate as a club. That you are responsible for, number 1, the daily plays of the day. Make a difference Monday. TPS Tuesday, text, post, and speak positive on Tuesdays. Win the Day Wednesday, meet someone new on your campus on Wednesday. Live the Change Thursday, eat lunch with someone different on Thursday. Healthy and Happy Friday, community service Saturday, and self-reflection Sunday. So that 30 to 50 are responsible for the daily plays of the day. Second, the weekly huddles. We got to huddle once a week to re-galvanize the message and let the students understand that we didn't just go to the workshop and the empathy training just to get out of class. There's something that we're responsible for. And then step 3, the 30 to 50 are responsible for monthly school-wide kindness, being creative to say, how can we operate and recognize people through kindness on this campus? Not just the students. How can we recognize the people who work in the front office? How can we recognize the people who work in the kitchen? How can we recognize the campus monitor or the bus driver or the custodian? So we want them to have an inclusive mindset. So the workshop is to teach them how to operate as a club. Step 4 is to have a teacher talk. Because we can talk to the students about it all day, but they'll forget. We know they're young, they'll forget. But if we can get the teachers involved, have a teacher talk to help the teachers understand that you are making a difference every day. However, with the Reach One Alliance, here's what you can do to support everything that we've taught at the assembly, at the empathy training, and at the workshop. And then the teachers get the lesson plans and they can implement those as they wish. And then step 5 is a parent night. Sometimes we'll have a parent night, but when I realized that certain parents weren't showing up, I created a video that Washington Unified School District put on the website for the parents to watch. So if you don't show up, there is something for you to watch. So those are the 5 steps in the 6 through 8 Reach One Alliance. And then what we do is we make sure that we come back. See, I've been speaking for 20 years, and I used to go to schools and do assemblies and motivate people, and that was fun. But I got to a certain point when I turned 40, I don't want to just motivate people just for the moment. I didn't want to just leave residue on campuses. Oh, there was an assembly, that was fun. I'm at a place now where I want to create residual systemic change. I want to influence the culture of the campus that spills out into the community. And that's what the Reach One Alliance is about. So 6 through 8, that's how we operate the program in the 6 through 8. Now, with the K-5, we have to do it a little bit differently. We get them interested in our message through chants, through songs, through rhythm, through clapping. But all the songs that we sing are words that we want reverberating through our young people's minds. Like, I'm cool, I'm kind, got greatness on my mind. I'm cool, I'm kind, or I'm awesome, I'm brilliant, I'm caring, I matter. And at this point, at this being our 3rd year doing our chant rallies and stuff, and we do those 4 times a year with our K-5, I don't even have to run the chant rallies anymore. The students know the songs. Once I say a word, they step right into it. So we get them excited through the chants. The teachers get the chants and understand the chants and take those chants to the classroom. The K through 5 message is a little bit different. On Monday, it's Mind Your Manners Monday. On Tuesdays, it's Talk Nice Tuesday, right? On Wednesdays, it's We Care Wednesday. So we shifted those a little bit. So now they're interested in the program. They get excited when Reach One comes, but when they get to 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, now they want to be a part of the Reach One Alliance Club. So the K-5, we run that a little bit differently than we do the 6-8. And everything we do has some sort of workbook to it, the lesson plans for the teachers, and year 1, it's about planting the seeds. I know that shift and change doesn't happen overnight. We want it to, but it doesn't. Year 1, you're planting the seeds. Year 2, the seeds start to take root. Students understand what a huddle is year 2. Year 1, it's like, what's a huddle? I've never been to a huddle before unless I'm playing football or something like that. Now they understand year 2 what a Reach One huddle is. Year 3 is when we start to begin to see the shift take place where students understand how to run the club, the advisors understand how to run the club. So we're excited to have been given the opportunity to be in the Washington Unified School District for as long as we have, and we're looking forward to the future. I feel like we're just getting started. We have a passion for what we do. I will continue to deliver my message until the day that I'm no longer here.
Yes, Richard.
I just had a quick question. So,
yes, sir.
When you do the trainings for the teachers, so they can help implement or integrate your teachings to the students, what does that look like? So can you explain what a workshop with the teachers might look like?
Right. Well, so with the teachers, it's a combination of things, because when I come to the teachers, I'm there to inspire them and to motivate them through my story, to let them know that what they do makes a difference every day. And how I know is because I'm the beneficiary of what my teachers did for me through elementary, middle, and my high school years. And then I walk them through. I wish I had the PowerPoint to be able to show you. I walk them through the steps of what I just shared with you so that they understand. I'm not just saying, oh, I want you to be a part and help us, reinforce our message. No. Here's the plan and how we do it and why we do it, so that they can truly understand where they fit in order for us to reinforce the message, or for them to reinforce the message in class.
And do they get like a handout like this?
Yes.
Package? Okay.
They get, yep. They get their lesson plans. We can either email them
good.
the lesson plans, or they get a hard copy. And they can implement those however they want to do it.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Bracy,
Yes,
do you
sir.
ever
Yes,
sleep?
I do.
I see you all over West Sacramento. I'm very thankful that you are part of our family.
Thank you.
This is my 5th year on the board, one of the, probably the eldest on the board. And when I came here, my two passions were transportation and anti-bullying. And there's another thing on the agenda that I was passionate about. But for you being here, I don't know how we could have done it. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I see your postings on Facebook at all of our campuses. The kids are smiling. I see your banners. It's my honor to go ahead and grant you another 4 years. I wish it was 10. I wish you were a permanent fixture here. I don't want to share you with other districts, but I know you got to make a living, and I can't be selfish. But I just truly wanted to thank you for what you do for not just our students, but our staff, and hopefully be around for at least 20, 30 more years for us.
Thank you so much. I would be remiss to stop and take that without giving some love and shouting out my awesome assistant, Coach Kindness, because we do it together, and we do it, and we lock arms with the teachers and the administrators. So thank you so much. I appreciate your words.
Thank you.
I'll just make a couple quick comments. First, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for what you do. I've gotten to see some of the assemblies, and I've also seen students created clubs, right, and seen them at fall festivals and other things, spreading your messages all on their own, and it's pretty special to get to see that out and about at the schools. So thank you, and I am supportive of your program. One thing I would like to mention as I take in some of our teachers' inputs that I've heard, not regarding you, and regarding the overall, as we work on our suspension rates, and as we look at what we're doing, and as we look at how we handle kids, I see this as one important piece of it, motivating kids, empathy, all of that. I see that as really important. But I also think as we look at other options and places to support teachers, that we need to, in other ways, go a little bit further to do some really tangible things for educators and for our kids about, de-escalating. Here's what this moment feels like. Here's how to work on really de-escalating a situation, stepping in, a little bit more comprehensive in terms of those really tangible things.
Yes.
I think is what we need to, as I think about to make sure that everyone is equipped with the skills to really help kids. And so I appreciate this piece of inspiring them and helping them in those ways. And I think we also need to make sure that we're getting the whole package in terms of what we do in student supports too.
Thank you. I'm going to add that. I appreciate that. It's summertime, so we revamp, and we're going to add that. Thank you.
President Kirby Gonzalez just wanted to say something. Thank you so much. The 68% decline is phenomenal. That is so great. And referencing what Don Stauffer said also, I think it's so important, we're educating the whole child in social behavior. Yes. That is so important because we've seen so many incidences in newspapers where this unfortunately, has not been the case in recent years. So I'm really happy that we at WSD are doing that. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we have one more for you, our student.
I have a question. At K through 5, you meet 4 times a year. How many times would you meet with high school, both Yolo and River City and Washington Middle College?
Well, we're piecemealing the high schools because the high schools require something different than the 6-8. That's a great question, 6-8 and K-5. So we're going to be sitting down with Alejandro and Stan and figuring out, okay, exactly what do you need? And we're going to piecemeal that particular program together for them, customize it for them and what they need.
I also wanted to thank you that when you have your huddles at YOLO, a lot of students were touched and got emotional. And we implement the day by day in our daily announcements, and you're really great. Thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Do you have a comment? Okay. So
Oh,
this,
I just want to say, actually, my girls come home singing your songs every day, and after the pledge, I wanted to dap, but that seemed a little bit inappropriate at the time. So really, thank you for everything that you've done and that you're continuing to do and actually modifying your curriculum as our needs, evolve over time. So
We're
appreciate
open
you.
to hearing everybody's feedback. So whenever you want to reach out and add something that we don't see, it's all of us working together. We're totally open to anything like that. Thank you.
We did say that we don't want to share you with anybody else.
Right. Thank you.
thank you. So with that, this is O11, approval of independent contract agreement with Life Changer International. And do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Okay.
Third.
The motion was made by Board Trustee Wong. It was seconded by Vice President Pizzotti. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye. Thank you very much for being here tonight. Okay, so we have also moved up our other item for tonight, which is on action item, that is P3. We have moved up, which is board discussion and direction for relationship with James Marshall Parent Participation Preschool. Before we get to the piece really quick with our staff report, I'll say not everybody was here when I read the public comment. It is on the front of our agenda as well. And so when we can limit individuals to 3 minutes, or we can limit a topic to 20 minutes. And because we have so many pieces here, I would say we have a 20-minute limit. We won't do individual speakers. And so we have, I think, 17 speakers here tonight. So you might want to think about if somebody said what you've already said, if you want to condense what you've said, or so that we're not repeating ourselves as we go through. And we'll take time when you're at the podium. We'll stop time in between when people are moving. Okay? So first we have Superintendent Linda Luna.
Thank you, President Kirby Gonzalez, Board of Trustees. This evening, item P3 opens the board to discuss in open session what we've learned about the James Marshall Parent Participation Nursery Program, nursery school. I know it says preschool program, but the official is nursery school. And so what we want to say this evening is that this particular program has been established since 1954. And we want to also acknowledge that many, many students and families have gone through this program as a result of the care that this particular program has given to so many families. This particular program began back in the 50s and 60s as an adaptation of preschool. So the focus on this particular program was to have a weekly evening adult education class that focused on whatever the preschool structure was during the day, to help families to better parent the students at home so that they could be more successful in school. We want to also, the reason why we're bringing this particular topic up is because Assembly Bill 104, which is legislation, changed in this past year. And we have been in a time of transition to learn more about the program and learn how this program is in relationship to Washington Unified School District. What we know about James Marshall Nursery School Program is that they filed for a 501c3, which allows them to be a nonprofit status. Their monthly tuition is $100 per student, and it's a 10-month program. There is no resident or income requirement. The Washington Unified School District has invested in this particular program for many, many years. The school district pays for the teacher salaries at approximately $55,000 a year. The district provides the free use of facilities and pays for the utilities of this program, and it also provides custodial services. The district also, for this school year, wanted to ensure that the adults working with the students of that program were fingerprinted, so we instituted that to help support them this year. And so the attendance for this particular program is 50 students with a waiting list, so it's a very popular program. What we've learned is last school year in 2015-16 through their attendance is that 31 of the 50 students, which is 62%, attend kindergarten outside of the Washington Unified School District. And this year, in 2016-17, the students that are enrolled, we have 7 students that do not live in West Sacramento. So moving forward, we're trying to open the discussion now for the board to openly give direction to the staff on how to move forward with this particular program as it has been in our budget.
Okay, thank you. So we'll go into our blue slips. Okay. So we're going to do our clock for 20 minutes, and we won't count passing time when we do that. We'll just do time at the microphone. So the first person, I apologize if I mispronounce any names, is Karen Abrigo.
Good evening. Just before you start the clock, I'm here representing State Senator Dr. Richard Pan, and I just want to say I picked the right night to be here because hearing all of the positive comments about the graduation event really makes a staffer feel good. There were 1,002 details that went into that event, and the phone calls we got from parents about my child's being recognized at the state capitol were amazing. And I just wanted to thank you all for your support and ask you to continue to help us to improve on that event. We'll be back next year. Now you can start the clock. So I want to thank you for the opportunity and the privilege to be here tonight and speak on behalf of Dr. Pan. As you know, he is very concerned about early childhood education and the needs of children within his district. He is familiar with the work of this preschool and is very much in favor of the model that it sets. He believes that it should be an example for other communities throughout the state to meet the needs of the underserved and those that are on low incomes. We understand that there are changes that happen from time to time, especially as impacted by legislation, but we would encourage the board to look at a gradual solution for this instead of a dramatic solution for it, looking at option number D on your list and allowing the school to gradually begin to start paying for some of the services and things that have been covered by the district up to this point. The reimbursement model would be of an extreme benefit to them so that they could work with their budget and adjust things appropriately. So with that said, that would be the Senator's request of this group, and I thank you for the opportunity to present.
Thank you. Iman Potter. I apologize if I mispronounced your name. Say hi.
Hi. I would like to talk about my school.
Okay, say it now.
I like my school and it's fun. And my teacher is nice and nice.
Thank you.
And thank you. My school is amazing.
Thank you. Very articulate. Aruj Ahmad.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for giving us this time. I just want to, Ms. Luna went over some of the details about our preschool, so I won't go over the history, but I just want to point out that our tuition is amazing and affordable. Someone like me, my family, for instance, right now we're in between jobs. My husband's in school, so we're in that kind of in-between spot where we couldn't necessarily afford. We didn't qualify for low-income preschool, and we didn't qualify for the private preschools. And I just want to read off to you that I think a family of 3 must make less than $3,518 per month to qualify for preschool, and approximately $20 an hour for their income. As full-time workers, we don't meet that requirement. And so James Marshall has been amazing to us. It's close to my house. It's my daughter, as you heard, that's my daughter, Iman Potter. She loves it. And as I want to emphasize that the parent education component has been crucial to me wanting to stay in that preschool and then have my little one here, the 2-year-old, go there as well, because it's made me a better parent, not just to my own kids, but to the 25 kids that I'm seeing every single day whose parents are sitting here in the yellow shirts. I'm a better role model to them because I can deal with them with a calm head. And each month we have to go to our parent education classes twice a month. It's just amazing. And also, I did serve on the parent board, and that's another component of James Marshall. I think that's not really emphasized, that I think is wonderful because it gives us autonomy and it gives us kind of like agency over our school. So I want to encourage the board to make a decision that will, like Karen said before me, that will give us gradually kind of wean us off the school district rather than giving us a dramatic kind of goodbye. So I just wanted to urge that, and I know we have limited time, so I want to let other people speak, but thank you for this time.
Thank you. Next we have Iman Potter. You are Iman Potter. Did Iman Potter go? Yes, okay, sorry. Okay, Cody Potter, next we have.
Hi, I'm Cody Potter, the husband in between the job right now. I'm going to UC Davis for the master's degree in nursing, and we've learned a lot about early childhood education and the huge, tremendous impact that it can have on a child's well-being and in their lifetime, really. And through my experience here with James Marshall, it's just been really phenomenal to somewhat echo what my wife and other will say. But it really teaches kids and parents both how to be good students, how to be good leaders, how to be a part of the community, and builds a community that, in a lot of ways, other preschools may not, because they don't have that cooperative model that this preschool does. And so I urge you all to help transition us a little off of the district in a way that we can remain sustainable and keep going, and hopefully model out to building more preschools like this. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Dana Cordano, and then we'll have Jennifer Sacido.
Sorry, I'm short. Hello, I am Dana Cordano. I am the current board president for James Marshall, and outgoing, and I've served on our board for 2 years now. I used to do our party committee. And what I want to say is you're going to hear lots of positive comments about it, and I think we've had everybody under the sun contacting you guys to tell you how great our school is. So that's not the question. It's the question of how we should proceed. And I know one big option is that the school could just acquire us, or the school district could acquire us and they could run it. But a big portion of our school is not only that we are a parent participation school where the families work together, but we're a parent-led school, which is a big, big thing. And being on the board for 2 years, I've really noticed that not only brings valuable relationships with the teachers, but it makes the parents more engaged, because now they're having not only a say in, like, not when they're participating, having a say in, like, how the kids are, being taught, but, like, really how the kids are being taught. They're working with the teachers on curriculum and enrichment field trips and, like fundraising and how to get our name out there. And so it's building a community of people together, and because we have to work together so much. I mean, when I started, I was like, oh, it's a parent participation school and I have to participate in the classroom, but I didn't realize how much my time was going to be put in the school, and I have gladly volunteered my time and given it because of the things that I've learned, not only being a better parent, but also being a better community member. So just consider that. And the reason we give our option is our option was option D on the agenda. And the reason we've given that to you is because being a parent-run school is really a important thing to us, as well as being a parent participation school. So it creates a community and it creates a better relationship with our children. So thank you.
Thank you. After Jennifer Sacido, we'll have Bernadette Austin. Are you yielding your time, Jennifer? Okay.
Well, thank you very much, Board President and members of the Board of Trustees. Bernadette Austin, I'm a longtime resident, parent, fourth consecutive year with James Marshall, and I served on the board for a year and a half. So my daughter Zen and my son John are going to be joining me once they get their acts together. So you're going to hear a lot of things this evening, but I do want to stress one important thing. There have been concerns about how many of students do not enter Washington Unified School District, and I want to address something. How many students from Mile Preschool or Portside don't enter our schools? How many students from Learning Ladder do not enter Washington Unified School District? I would encourage you, before you criticize James Marshall, to consider what our very own city students are going to. I would also encourage you to look at the question, why are we not having students going from early childhood education preparatory situations into our school districts? We need to improve our cradle to career pipeline, not sever relationships that improve that. So I'd really encourage you to look at it from that perspective. How can organizations like James Marshall really help improve the early childhood education that is a priority for the school board, a priority for the mayor and city council, and a priority for the superintendent of education for Yolo County? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jennifer Garcia, and next we have Ben Yu.
Thank you for having us today. I just wanted to say that I am a first-time parent at James Marshall, and I think part of the biggest thing for James Marshall, and it will kind of tap on a little bit of what the other gentleman was saying, that being an active parent, you really get to see what goes on in schools, and James Marshall makes it an absolute requirement that you are there. And I think that if it wasn't a requirement, I may have been a parent who may have stood back and let my child just drop them off and pick them up and drop them off and pick them up, maybe go to a field trip here and there. And now I am a current board member. I will be for next year. And it really makes you see the way children act. It really makes you see how they can talk to other children. And as an active parent, everybody knows that it starts at home. And if you can get the adult education that you need from home, then you can be a better parent. And you can stop the bullying. You can stop all of the things that start very, very, very young. And I think that a lot of school districts should have this kind of program in their system because it's absolutely necessity for the parents to be involved. Far more parents should be more involved. And I'm very grateful for James Marshall for bringing that to light to my attention. Thank you.
Thank you. After Ben Yu, we have Ed Lopez. Okay, thank you. We have Ed Lopez, and then after Ed Lopez, we have Nissan Mead.
Please excuse the outfit. I just came back from kayaking. You know, I've been on the board for almost, well, next year will be 4 years. And I've been the fundraiser chair that whole time. And it has been a challenge. But I think the best part of all this, of my experience being on the board and being part of James Marshall, it's been the early child education that James Marshall taught me. Serving 8 years in the military, you think, go, 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 you know, raise your kids a certain way. Mrs. Hinton, took her time and she said, look, this is the reason why Alex does this. This is the reason why she's behaving X, Y, and Z. So it's not just for kids, it's also for parents. And I've heard this a lot from other parents. It's helped them a lot to understand their kids. For me, primarily, really did a lot. And I talk to her all the time and I say, hey, you know what? Those classes you gave us were awesome. So I know you've heard already that, this should be part of every school district. I think you guys already know that too. And you as an instructor, as a teacher, probably appreciate parents that are involved in class and worry about their kids and say, hey, I'm here, what do you need? Well, that's what James Marshall does. It kind of starts to raise you as a parent and say, hey, get involved in your kid's education. And that's exactly what James Marshall is doing. You know, Dana is now part of something over in the city now. You know, that's part of that, getting parents involved, but it's also for the community. I'm here not just for James Marshall, but I'm here for West Sacramento, because West Sacramento cannot lose this school. And if anything, you know, the laws of multiplicity need to happen here. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much. After Ed is Nisan Ahmad, and then we have Manar Ahmad.
Yeah, it's Nisreen.
Sorry, thank you very much.
Okay, I am a mom from other culture, and you know when you are from other culture and you came here to USA, I never feel like I'm part of anything here. But Miss Hinton gave me this chance last year when I came. I just have very weak language. I can't communicate with any other kids, so I have 25 kids in front of my eyes. I have to communicate with them because they are part of my son life. My son life, yes. So it's very, you know, it's a big chance for me to deal with these kids. It's make me strong mom, deal with all this group. Miss Hinton, I love you. You give me the beautiful chance. I feel like I'm better mom. I'm better communicate person because I'm alone. You know, I came from overseas. I have like nobody here. So James Marshall is my family. I love them. I don't want to lose them because I have a daughter. So I have 2 more years ahead. So I hope it's, you know, you understand my feeling and help my school. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last speaker is Manar Ahmad.
Hello, thank you for having us. I am a first-year parent this year, and I'm also fairly new to West Sacramento. I moved from Stockton about 6 years ago, and after having my second child, left my career to stay at home with my kids, and being a part of James Marshall and the parent participation program has been a huge change, a very nice change in my life. Kind of makes me not want to go back to work and continue to do volunteer work and stuff like this within our community. Next year I will have 2 kids in the program, so double my involvement, and I will also be part of the board. So now this is going to be the majority of my life for the next couple of years until they're both out of there. So for me, preschool is a necessity, not a luxury, and the tuition makes it very friendly for a single income family, so I can continue to stay home with my kids and provide everything that I learned through the parent education classes, as well as kind of being involved in the classroom. So thank you for your time. I hope you will consider keeping our program as is. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll open up to board discussion.
I have a question. The program's actually licensed as a nursery, not a preschool, right, from my understanding? Is that correct? Superintendent Luna?
In the state of California, it is licensed as a nursery school, not a preschool. The licensing for preschool comes under certain guidelines, highly teacher qualified, ECE units, et cetera.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to clarify because there was some confusion with testimony about preschool and nursery. So I had the benefit as a parent to actually be on the board of my preschool, and for some reason I was also the treasurer. So understand how important it is for parent participation, how challenging it is to kind of carve out that time. But so appreciate everyone's testimony. So.
Yeah, I do too. I also appreciate this. I'm also on the board of my child's preschool, and I unfortunately am a single income family as well and end up paying $800 a month for preschool. So I totally understand and I get it. I have a couple of questions though for Superintendent Luna, if you could. So do we know how long the tuition has been $100?
I don't know exactly how long it's been $100. I can tell you that one of our employees in Washington Unified had her son go to James Marshall. I believe he's 30. So that's at least 27 years that she paid $100 also for the monthly tuition.
So the tuition's never been adjusted?
Not that I don't know that answer.
Okay. And then,
But we need to talk to our superintendent.
hang on a second. Okay, so I have a list of questions, so let me see if you can
We'll
answer.
do our best.
Yeah, see if you
Okay.
can answer some of them. So there's 50 students times $100 equals 5,000 a month times 10 months, is that correct?
That's
10 months?
correct.
So that's $50,000 a year for a budget, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So if we are funding the teacher salaries, the facilities and rent and janitorial, what does the $50,000 go to?
My understanding is that the $50,000 that is incurred through the student tuition pays for their resources such as their book, the materials that they use in the classroom, their trips that they take for learning experiences. I will ask Assistant Superintendent Landsberger if this is part of our audit. I don't believe it is. No. So we do not audit their books.
Okay. And then from what my understanding was is that their 50C3 status has lapsed or did lapse. How were they operating in the years that it lapsed?
They have been identified as a California trust. I believe it's California Trust. So the 501c3 is pending right now, and that was applied for in February.
Okay. So
They do have a 501c3 number that has been used in the past. It's just that it needs to be reactivated.
it's expired, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
And so they're just waiting for that.
Okay. And then what are the curriculum standards? Do we know what the curriculum standards that they use, what type of, any educational components that they have?
I'm not aware of that particularly for their curriculum or their assessments. I have asked if they do the DRDP like our other preschools, like in Up for West Sac. Those that are supported in Up for West Sac
Right.
do use the DRDP. Also, our preschools do, so that those pieces of data are then given to the following year so that kindergarten teachers and transitional kindergarten teachers can see the results of the DRDP and then help to know how to guide their instruction and meet the needs of the learners.
Okay. And then, do we know the, I guess, geographic breakdown of where the students come from that attend that school?
I have it over there, and I'll have to look through some of my files on that. But we did get the student list of their addresses in West Sacramento. We have 7 students who do not live in West Sacramento. One that I believe lives in Clarksburg, and the other 6 live in Sacramento across the bridge.
Okay.
Most of the students do come from Bridgeway Island, Southport, and Stonegate areas.
Okay. And then, do they have admissions policies?
We've read the handbook, and in terms of admission, I believe there's a requirement to be potty trained before entering the program. Of course, the parent volunteer hours are a requirement each week, and then the evening adult education classes are also a requirement.
Okay.
I have a couple more questions. So I know that there's some data that 30% are actually free reduced. I may have seen that in the memo. I just have a question, and if that's the case, do they use any of the stage 1, 2, or 3 childcare slots that are available? I had the benefit of actually having childcare in my portfolio when I worked for the Senate. So curious whether or not any of them are state-funded childcare slots? Have they been able to kind of, have folks been thinking about using that, or the alternative payment vouchers that are also available? And so I just kind of thinking about the business model over all these years, if the target has been low-income families, whether or not any of those CalWORK stage 1, 2, or 3, or alternative payment vouchers were even a consideration.
If it was a consideration in terms of state support in that manner, the program would have to be certified and licensed through the state of California as a licensed preschool. So in order to receive those kinds of support mechanisms for a particular program, like our state preschools or our federal preschool programs, you have to be licensed through the state of California, and you have to have all these ECE units, you have to meet all the requirements, and in order to get that support and supplement, you would have to have those in place.
So supporting the high-quality ECE that the
Correct.
state has actually framed out.
That's
In
correct.
terms of standards that we believe that our students who are receiving high-quality preschool should be.
Correct.
Okay.
I have a question, 2 questions, just. Out of the 50 students, how many are Latino?
I'm not able to answer that, Trustee Alcala, because I actually haven't asked that specific question to the preschool officers, and so if I can get that information back to you as soon as I ask that question for them.
Okay, great. And the only other question is, I wanted to know how many of the student families live within the Westfield, Elkhorn, Riverbank communities?
From the student registration that we received, we do not see any addresses of Westfield, Elkhorn, and Riverbank, at least from the list that we received.
Okay, thank you.
First of all, one thing I'd like to do is welcome some of the new families to West Sac. I heard a few of you say you're newer to West Sac, and so welcome. I want to let you all know that I have been an active parent in our public schools for over 30 years. I graduated from preschool here. I attended all the elementary schools and the high schools. So while I agree more parents in our public schools need to be more active, I have been active in my kids' education since they were little. So there are parents in our public schools that do participate in, we have PTAs, we have site committees, we've had a lot of them come forward and participate in our mission statement, a lot of stakeholders, we have great partnerships with the city. So I do have some concern that I heard from some of the questions of the other board members is equity as far as offering preschool services to all of West Sacramento. And I am confused as a board member, Jackie Wong said, and I keep hearing the term preschool, and it truly is a nursery, so I think there's some confusion. And so I urge parents to also check out our public schools. You can be just as active in our schools too. I know everyone has their preferences, and that's fine, but it made it sound like that we don't have parents participating in our public schools, and we do. We have many. So I want to thank all of you for coming out here. It does sound like that parenting classes are a hit with your school, and maybe that's something we can look into as a district to offer parenting, classes for our kids. We do have PK for our adults. I'm sorry, we do have PK. We do offer a lot of classes too. But I just wanted you to understand there's some things that the public schools we do offer too, as well as what you guys are going through. But I do thank you for coming out and taking the time to tell us your experiences in your school. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Trustee Cruz, for making those comments. And I want to also remind the board that we are really working hard in our adult education program itself, in that this year alone we've added more adult education classes where our parent classes are full over at Elkhorn and at Westfield schools. We've instituted 2 parenting classes on a weekly basis. I believe it's multiple days per week, where under the adult education program, they are learning English as a second language. They're also learning the parenting skills on how to better support their children at home. And so under the guise of adult education, that's exactly what we have expanded to give more of in our district. So thank you for making those comments.
I don't have any questions, I have comments.
I have a question in terms of a couple questions. One is, what are the qualifications for our preschool program? The term preschool is thrown around with some other terms of nursery. So can you just give us a real quick overview of what we consider in Washington Unified our high-quality preschool program?
Yes, thank you. As Superintendent Luna alluded to, there is a 50-page program requirements that all of our preschool programs must adhere to. There's income requirements. There's, of course, the licensing by the highly qualified teachers, including ECE units, early childhood education. They are required to use the DRDP, the desired results profile, and use those results to inform parents of how their child is developing both academically and social and emotionally. In addition, there's staffing ratios we must adhere to for preschool, a 1-to-8 model, 1 adult for every 8 students. And pretty strict guidelines. It's pretty comprehensive, but really I think the bottom line is highly qualified employees and the use of data, and also the adherence to the California standards, preschool foundations.
Perfect, thank you very much. As I think through this, and I very much appreciate all you coming out here tonight, and very much appreciate the model that you are doing and how involved that you are. When we did, the board has done some real heavy work with budget studies and looking at our budgets, and we weren't aware that after the change in adult ed, the district was how much we were funding you. We had not been aware of that. And so when that came to light, a few other preschools were brought up by one of the public comments, and I'll just say that we don't fund any of those private preschools, and so we're not looking at what their students are doing because we're not funding them with public taxpayer money. And so one thing that I think about as I think about this is what keeps me up at night sometimes is, and I have a preschooler right now, and I have many ECE units under my belt too. I worked at a preschool actually when I was in college, and so we know that there is a large group of families who have a hard time paying for high-quality preschool. We know that. We live this reality. And so we know also that our Washington Unified preschools have an income requirement, and so if you make above that income requirement, that you cannot get in, and we know that that is an issue. I know how much it costs to pay for preschool. I think when I look at our documents of what we're saying is a state daily rate, it's $28 a day, 32 cents. I pay more than that because I need wraparound care to work. Right. But I'm very, very thankful that I can. As a middle income family with my husband, I'm very thankful that we can do that. So it doesn't keep me up at night because it's a priority in our home, and as hard as it is, we feel lucky that we can do that. What keeps me up at night are the parents that I hear about who are going to work and they're dropping their child off at a preschool that they know is not high quality like what we have, and not high quality the folks can afford. It's people who pick up their children and they have diaper rash because their diapers aren't changed, the TV's on, they're not learning their alphabet. You know, those are the places that really worry me, because everybody should leave for work knowing that their child is somewhere safe, nurtured, cared about. And those are the families that worry me. And we've been talking for a long time here about doing a sliding scale. And as I look at this program, I see that there could be concern, it could be construed maybe, that we're gifting public funds to a private preschool. And we want to look at a sliding scale for our families to meet the needs. And we can't do that if our money is going to a place of private preschool. And so I'm very supportive of your program independently. I'm not supportive of spending, remember, this is the money that our students in Washington Unified are generating. This is our Washington Unified students are generating this money. We're not allowed to gift that money to private entities. We're just not. That's our job as elected officials, is to do that oversight. So what I very much am supportive of, though, is looking at a relationship that we can have and to support you in what you're doing, and happy to do so from my standpoint with a facility use agreement. And very happy to do that. And that is a lot less expensive than when we look at private preschools, the rent that they have to pay to rent out private facilities. That's a lot of money they're spending. And so this is a way that we could, I think, make a compromise to help you, but we can also sleep at night knowing that we're doing right by how we're elected, right, with our public taxpayer money.
I appreciate that. I actually forgot to mention in my board comments is that CSBA gave us highlights of what's to come in the future years, and there are a lot of questions about whether or not our current investments in our kids and our plans are sustainable. Right, 2 weeks ago, I don't know if any of you were here, we had a large discussion about providing free breakfast and lunch for our schools who were anywhere from 50% to 80% free lunch, right? That was the income measure. And for us, in the back of our minds, in terms of our fiduciary responsibility as board members, we said we kept it open. And that also cost us, would have costed the district $15,000 a year. So we're making a lot of hard decisions based on this dais, right? Again, these were communities where there were 50% to 80% free and reduced lunch to feed. I'm not going to say not feed, but to provide free lunch and breakfast so that they can learn and be ready and prepared, right? So it's not just this issue, it's every single issue that's before us in terms of a budget augmentation. So it's not really, in some ways, personal. We do support kind of what you're doing, but I think on balance, we have so many things that we're looking at and how that will be sustainable for our kids moving forward in the next 3 years, with the suspension of Prop 98 and Test 3B, right, and a number of other things that we have to think about whether or not we can pay for our PERS and STIRS, right, our obligations to ensure that our public servants and that have their benefits paid for, right, in the future. So it's not, I really do appreciate you coming here. I was that board member, basically on a preschool board, and so I know how much time it takes. But really, just on balance, it's what we're juggling, right, across the board for the entire district and for all of our students.
Yeah, I would like to echo some of those comments. It is about priorities, and I echo your comments, President Kirby-Gonzalez. And I was thinking about this as just and I do like your model. I like the parent participation model. I think it's an outstanding model, and I wish I was able to participate. I wish I had more time to participate in something like that. That would be a wonderful opportunity for me to spend more time with my kid instead of having to work all the time. But I would say this: anytime that we're funding a teacher's salary, I would imagine that that teacher would have to be under the supervision of the district. And that teacher is a district employee, therefore would have to fall under our purview. And then President Kirby-Gonzalez also mentioned anytime we are not charging the rate that we need to for facilities, for utilities, for rent, then it's gifting public funds. It's called a gift of public funds, and we can't do that either. So I'm sorry to say that I just don't see that Proposal D is viable. I do think that Proposal A is, and my preference would be that we would go with Proposal A. I mean, I wouldn't mind having an opportunity for us to have a parent participation, high-quality preschool in our district. I would love to do that. But I think what would probably please the board of James Marshall more is to have the board operating their own program. From what I heard from the people that spoke, they want to continue with their board intact the way it is. So I would imagine that's probably the way to go. in order to make that happen for them.
I would also agree with Member Posadi. I heard the need for autonomy, by the board, so I would also go with recommendation A.
Okay. And I will just reiterate with Dr. Pan, we'd love to partner and talk about early childhood education and support because we are 100% behind that and look for funding avenues because we can always use more of that.
I was going to make a. He is the chair of Sub 3, which actually
and Human Services.
oversees child care
Right.
stage 1, 2, or actually 1 and 2, and 3. Just kind of putting it out there. But that also requires, as Superintendent Luna said, it requires a preschool program.
So before us, we have,
Oh, I'd like just to comment that I love seeing the little preschoolers or nursery at school. It's very fun. They're very welcoming. They smile at us when we're going through the fence, even though it's covered. I love them, but they have really strong points. Thank you.
so what I see on the agenda is we have 4 different proposals before us. And I've heard all the comments of the board and I've heard the parents. And at this time, I would like to make a motion to approve the proposal A.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Board Trustee Cruz, seconded by Vice President Posadi. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, I too vote aye. Okay,
Thank you, Board of Trustees.
and thank you again for being here and giving up your time to share with us. Thank you.
So now we're back on
All right, thank you.
consent agenda.
Okay. That takes us to information and discussion items. N1. And thank you to our staff too, I know, who have stayed late on some of these. So N1 is Western Association of Schools and Colleges. It's the WASC report for River City High School. Dr. Andy Parsons.
I'd like to introduce the principal and his WASC coordinator as well.
Good evening once again. It seems like it was a while ago since I got up here, but glad to be back. Thank you all. I'd like you to, many of you know her already, but this is Melissa Baldwin, and she is our WASC coordinator this year. She was our WASC coordinator. She's also an English teacher on my staff at River City High School, and she has done an outstanding job working with us on this project. So let me tell you a little bit about this. Every once in a while, the Western Association of Schools and Colleges, they will come to our high schools to make sure that we are giving credits properly. And they evaluate us, they give us feedback, and it's a very intensive process. It's also not just a 1-day, 2-day process. It's actually a long process. So what it started for us way back last spring when we were told that we're going to go through this process, which is normal. Every school goes through these, and there's different cycles. And our last cycle was a 6-year process. So the last time we had this heavy evaluation was 6 years ago. I was an assistant principal back then. And part of it is to get a coordinator to do the work. And the coordinator is not supposed to be an administrator. It's supposed to be one of the staff members. And so we put it out there to see who would have the courage to do all this extra work and coordinate and facilitate this. And Melissa was wise enough to take on the task, and I'm so glad she did. She's done a great job with it. So she took that on, and once we established that, we had to go through some different webinars on how will this process work, et cetera. And as soon as the school year started, we had to break off, and if you could give me the next slide, please. Oh, there it is, sorry. Okay. So once the school year started, we had to do a self-study. And what that self-study means is that we had to break off into groups and facilitate a dialogue where our own staff was going to give us feedback in these 5 following areas: organization, vision, purpose, and governance. That was a complicated one. That was all one together. Curriculum, instruction, assessments, and school culture. So these were all subgroups that were broken out. So we went about having all these different meetings. They didn't finish until November. They took the place of our regular staff meetings. Of course, we have collaboration and plenty of meetings at River City High School, but these were on top of those. And like I said, took the place of our regular staff meetings. And during that time, staff would generate some feedback of their own about what they felt was working, what they felt needed to be improved upon. And we went from there. And Melissa here took all that together, as well as some surveys of parents and students, and she compiled a huge report, and I'm going to let her tell you a little about that compiling.
So like Stan said, in November we finished with our self-study report, and then in December and January I spent a majority of my weekends and Christmas break compiling the report and making sure that what the information we had was accurate and reflected our campus in a way that both staff and admin could agree upon. And then in January we presented it to the staff and received feedback through our leadership team, and then finalized that report and submitted it in February. And then we moved on to our actual WASC committee visitation in March.
And how many pages was that report?
So the report was a little over 200 pages. So I'm an English teacher, you gotta write. And we did include pictures too, so some of them were pictures as well.
The report was well done. And so once that was submitted and mailed out to all the visiting committee members, we had an already preset date of some months before of mid-March. And that kicked off with a community meeting where parents and I believe a couple of board members, the board was also invited. We had a couple of you that were able to attend, fortunately. Also met with the visiting committee and answered questions and talked to them about the school. And that was the beginning of a 3-day visit. And during that 3-day visit, the WASC visiting committee would go around speaking with different teachers. They met again with each of these groups. So each of these groups were talked with again as a whole group. And they also pulled students out. One group of students was one that I formed for them, which they asked for. And then they also do an ad hoc student meeting where they walk around the campus and they give tickets to students and actually pull them out randomly and pull them into a group and talk to them about what the campus is like and where it relates to these particular issues. So it was a very long process. There was a lot of ebb and flow to it. So there were some days where I felt like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. We're you feel great. And other days they kind of bring you down to earth, like, oh wow, oh yeah, I guess we could do a better job of that. So there was a little bit of both going on. I felt like their feedback was honest, fair, and sincere. I think the process helped me as an administrator. I think it will help our school going forward too. And I think that's what WASC is supposed to do. So from that time, they asked us, well, what they did is they compiled a report, which I believe the board has in its possession, which was about a 44-page document that they put together based on their own analysis of our self-study. And in that area, they told us that there were really 3 areas that they thought were really important for us to focus on. They did mention to us that they thought River City High School maybe had too many goals going into this, and we were probably taking on a lot, and so that was maybe losing some of our focus. And so one of the things they attempted to do was refocus us to a couple of things. And so these are the 3 areas that they considered to be the most important, what they call the critical areas. That was communication, standards-based learning, which encompasses a lot of not just the standards testing that we hear about, but also what goes into making those students do a good job during that testing. Common assessments, talked about AP, A through G rates, all those things go into standards-based learning. And then the third area was technology, improved access for technology for students and staff and training. They also instructed us to compile a 3-year action plan. So that was basically to make sure that in 3 years, or when the next team comes, that we can really look at what they told us we needed to work on and really make sure that we focused on it. So these are some of the areas that you have the report, and they talk about many things in those 44 pages. These were some of the things that they highlighted, so I bring those to you tonight, so I will just kind of read through those. They felt like we needed to develop a comprehensive long-range professional development plan. They also felt like our articulation between the K-8 schools was limited and that needed to improve. They also believed that we needed to improve our consistent communication practices with parents regarding homework and student performance. So a lot of this goes down to that individual connection and relationship between the parent and the students in the class with their teachers. In addition, they felt like we were kind of in an emerging stage of developing our assessments that are linked to the Common Core California standards and the SBACS testing that we do. And they thought that our ability to disaggregate and analyze this data, certain departments at our school, we have many departments, some of them were better than others, and so there was some inconsistency there that they felt that we needed to work on. I agree with all their assessment, and our action plan, which you also have in your possession, is basically created to tackle those areas. And it is also aligned with our LCAP, it's aligned with our district strategic objectives, and I believe it addresses many of the accountability that is present in our California dashboard as well. They also told us some highlights of things that they liked. So one of the things, some of the things they said, and like, again, the report that the 44-page report that they concluded the self-study with has many more highlights and many more areas of things that to improve. These are just the main highlights that they articulated to us. So they believe we have a great variety of programs, and they really were excited about that. They loved the Building Foundations class, which we put in play for the freshmen this year. They thought that was a great thing. They think our staff is very innovative, and they love the ability to. They love what they're seeing in terms of alignment between our pathways and what we're doing together with the district in partnership with them. I will also say one of the strong points that the WASC Visiting Committee pointed out to me was that they told me that it's great that you have a very supportive Ed Services Department and a very supportive superintendent. And they said that really was very clear by their dialogue with them, that we get a lot of support. And again, I concur with that. That was a very big, important part of this WASC process. They really were excited about the project-based learning opportunities that we have at River City High School. Many of you have visited the campus, and you've seen some of those for yourself. They see that we're expanding, even though technology is a critical need. It is also an area that we have been expanding in, and so technology is a very important component of our of this day and age, and so it's just an ongoing thing to improve upon. Numerous extracurricular activities, very diverse student body, all that really excited them. And their overall consensus was very strong that our students and staff like and respect each other. So I feel really good about their visit. And the good news, the celebration, we did receive a 6-year accreditation with a 3-year review, and that was very good. So we got a good mark, and we're all very happy. I'd like to thank all of you for all your support as well, which I've known each of you in different ways, and I know Board Member Wong the least, but I see I can see that she's getting right in there though, so with everybody. So I want to thank all of you, and again, the cabinet for all the support you guys have given to River City High School. And it was definitely a staff effort. Everybody contributed, but now I'm really excited about going forward with some really strong focus, because they pointed out some things that we could do better, and it's really shed some light on some things, and I think that's going to help us be a better school next year. Thank you.
Board of Trustees, I just wanted to point out the understatement, really, the words really are unable to express the incredible difficult work that Melissa Baldwin has put in to just bring it all together, because everybody was writing different pieces, and when you have a person who can scribe eloquently so that the WASC team can really understand truly what's going on at the high school, I just wanted to make sure that we gave her a shout out.
I just had a quick comment, and I just wanted everybody to hear this. And it's the last sentence, it's the last paragraph in this report. When I was reading it over, it really struck it home with me. It says, clearly, River City High School is making positive strides and is focused in the right direction with a strong and committed staff and supportive administration. I thought that was wonderful to read. There is a strong sense of community, genuine caring, and collective will to ensure student success. That really made me feel good about what we are doing here in WSD, and especially at the high school. So,
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
It was a privilege to sit in on the WASC group and committee, and everyone left and they closed the doors and left us in there with parents, and it was a wonderful opportunity to hear from them, and really appreciated that. And thank you for all your work and for being here this evening.
I just have one quick statement. I didn't participate this year, but I participated in a previous year. And it is good to sit in the classrooms and listen to the teachers and listen to the parents and get their input. And just like our FICMAT, it's always important to hear what we can do a bit better, but what we're doing good. But I will tell you, in the media, I think it was Santa Barbara, they've displayed everywhere, oh, we got 6 years accreditation. I mean, 6 years. And I'm like, what about us? So I was anxious to hear what we got. So I'm glad, I can say, so did we.
We got 6 years.
Yeah.
Shout it from the rooftops.
That's the top amount that you can get is 6 years, right?
Yeah. Again, I want to reiterate your hard work, but I also want to acknowledge you acknowledging the support of our Ed Services team that is fairly new. And so that was kind of to highlight a little bit of kind of how our district is changing in a positive manner and everything that they're doing to support our school sites. So I really appreciate that comment, including that as well.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us to N2, the governor's May revise budget update, and it's only 321 slides. Just kidding.
Will you be going over every single slide?
Cut it down.
Five. All important, all important.
43.
At least there's a lot of pictures.
Tons of pictures. I will be as brief as I can. I promise I'm not going to talk about everything that's on every one of these slides, but I did do my best to kind of take the May revise that was presented by school services, consolidate it into what I thought was the most relevant to what we'll be dealing with in this next budget cycle. And I took a 3-hour presentation. I'm hoping to do it in less than 10 minutes. So let's see how I did. So an overview of the May revise for 17-18. You can see it here. The governor basically is putting more money into schools for 17-18 than was originally noted in January. The purpose of this particular May revise, this is the last chance for them to update their revenues and their expenses before the budget committees do their work. Remember, a budget is due to the governor for signature by June 15th. So they are running out of time. They got a couple weeks left to get this thing done. Here's an estimate of what's happening with the budget. And if you look at what the governor is saying and you look at how our expenses are outpacing our revenues, if we're flat in 17-18, within the next couple of years, revenues are going to be behind again. And that's because of the increase to person stirs and then just the increase in the cost of living itself. And looking at future COLA is only covering a cost of living. So you see the bars going away from us, which is not a positive for schools. And the governor's May revise is preparing for an economic slowdown as well. You'll see that they're building a reserve for themselves. They're avoiding new ongoing commitments. They're paying down debt. They're downsizing government. And year-over-year increases are not expected for us in the future. So if you start looking at the budget, they're starting to, I don't want to use the term stockpile, but you'll see a budget that is more working on their fund balance than dealing with ongoing expenditures within different areas of the state budget. Very quick, U.S. economy is strong, continues to be strong. Housing prices continue to rise even with higher mortgage rates. A government shutdown's been avoided. Federal tax cuts are on the table. The Affordable Care Act is an issue. Unemployment rates continue to fall to a low of 4.5%. And we still don't know what's going to come out of Washington, D.C., although we did have some additional stuff yesterday, and it was not necessarily pro-education the way that we look at building our budget. And we'll talk about that briefly, too. U.S. dollar continues to appreciate. The bad thing about the U.S. dollar appreciating is that our exports are not as competitive, and we do more imports, although imports are expected to rise over the next couple of years. Eventually, this will be a problem for us as well, as far as the global economy goes. Jobs lead, but taxes lag. What this is really saying is our job growth is good. If you look at our unemployment rate, it's going down. The issue is the income level that these jobs are generating is not at the income level of the jobs that we lost in the Great Recession. So the overall tax base is not growing as fast as you would expect it to when you see this precipitous decline in the unemployment rate. And they talk about stratification of the tax base in here. I'll let you read that. The bottom line is this: a very small percentage of the population in California pays a majority of the tax, and that's through capital gains. And you'll see a slide on that in a second. You'll see where the concern is. Again, non-farm jobs going through the roof. They expect them to go through the roof, but they are not high-paying jobs. Unemployment gap, California is at 4.9, US is at 4.5. And at one point, that becomes unsustainable, too. Just like the zero interest rate, you can only have a zero interest rate for so long. You can only have decline in unemployment for so long. It's going to peak off and go the other way. Here's probably the biggest concern that you'll see in the budget is there's a 5.5% increase in personal income, sale, and corporate tax revenue for 17-18. And when you dig deeper into the May revise, you will realize that that is all in the capital gains tax. In the January budget, it was about 110, and the May revise, it's 133. That's a big number. Huh?
People selling their stock?
Well, the stock market isn't selling off, but what they're looking at potentially is the real estate market. As the real estate market is getting hot and people are selling their homes, there's going to be a capital gains in the real estate market. However, that's the most volatile of the tax increments that the state gets is capital gains. So huge number there, and that's what part of the budget was built on. So Prop 98 and the specificity for it for schools. 4 major topics for Prop 98. Funding for 17-18 is up $1.1 billion from the January proposal. It's got stuff to it. We'll talk about that. May revise ups the LCFF funding of an increase of $1.4 billion. The deferral is gone. They're going to do a settle payment for 16-17, and one-time funds are up $750 million, but with a significant twist. So the Prop 98, just looking at it again, numbers we just talked about. The issue with Prop 98 is they are proposing to suspend Test 3B. I'll show you what that does over the next couple slides, because Test 3B for the current projections over 3 years is going to short education by almost $1 billion. I'll show you how they came up with that too. Basic numbers, the January budget versus the May revise, I just recapped them for you. The biggest one on this slide is the one-time funding of $170 per ADA. But when you get the $170 per ADA, you lose the 48, and I'll show you how that impacts your budget as well. So the biggest implications for education funding is the administration continues to tell us the next recession is around the board. Longest recovery we've had, if it goes for another couple of years, I think it'll be the longest in the post-war era. So the recession's around the corner. However, we have a budget forecast that does not project a recession. In fact, it continues to show growth over the next 4 years. Again, the largest impact to us is the Prop 98 Test 3B suspension for the supplemental appropriation, as well as what they did to the one-time funding. So let's talk about the lowering of Prop 98. What Test 3B is when you end up in a Test 3 year, which we are, Test 3B is the equal pain, equal gain portion of Prop 98 that says Prop 98 spending increases will be no less than non-Prop 98 spending increases in the budget. Okay? They suspend that. If they suspend that, they're suspending it for 16-17, not 17-18, and then 18-19 for 3 years out. So there's 4 years that they're suspending it. The year that we're finishing, not the budget year, but the 3 years on top of that. $867 million, 18-19 through 2021. The suspension money would go into a maintenance factor, which is that credit card that they paid us off on a few years ago. Here's what it looks like graphically. If they were to fund current law and not suspend Prop 98 Test 3B, it would fund at the blue line, and with the suspension, they expect it to fund at the red line. It's about $860 million in between the two. Good news. I like to throw some good news in between the two things that aren't really good. COLA is now at 1.56%. It was 1.48% before, and COLA is being applied across the board. It's to the target, it's to the base, the supplemental, it's hitting all of your categorical programs, special education, foster youth. Everything's getting COLA this year. The local control funding formula, again, COLA gets added to that, which creates this $1.4 billion of additional money. They also closed the funding gap by 43.97%, taking us to an estimate for 17 and 18 of 97% of target, which is great considering we're only in year 6, or excuse me, year 5, and in 3 years they'll cover the last 3% if they do it evenly. What the 1.56% COLA does for our school districts, we just did it really quick, so this is an estimated number because we still have some I's to dot and T's to cross in our model, but we expect our funding to go up 2.59% or $1.7 million, just above what the statewide average of 2.69% would be. So that little table that you see right there is actually an excerpt out of the local control funding formula using our factors, and so we see about a $1.7 million increase. Funding factors, just so you have them if anybody asks for them, there's your 1.56% COLA applied to the grade spans. The 1.56% COLA also gets applied to the grade span adjustment for K-3 class size reduction and 9-12 CTE. And everything gets added up to your 20% supplemental, 50% concentration, and those are the new rates that are in the local control funding formula. So what happens with full implementation if we get there in the next 3 years?
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
We don't get any of those CTE grant funds, right? So the CTE grant funds that are sunsetting next year, we don't get any of those. This is a separate CTE from LCFF?
It is a separate CTE, and
Okay.
I do believe we have those.
I don't know
Is
if
this a CTIG?
No. So career technical education, there's a grant program that, there was a pot of money that a couple of years ago that the legislature had applied, essentially allocated, and it's an application process. So I just want to be clear that our CTE monies are actually our priorities through our LCFF dollars and not the grant that's sunsetting next year.
Our priorities are through the LCFF dollars, but
Okay.
we do get some of the grant money as well.
Okay, so
Okay,
that.
we have, I want to say, we have 4
So we
different
will-
funding sources going through our CTE program right now.
So if the legislature does not approve that, that's actually also another hole in our
Well, no,
budget.
because we have to match it. And our matching that we did, we didn't match with something that we didn't have it from a sustainability standpoint, so we matched with our teacher salaries. And so that's embedded into our program. So if you were to take the dollar amount that the CTE supplemental add-on generates, we actually spend more in the program than we get out of LCFF. So that's our balance.
So, but if that goes away, it's not detrimental?
No, well,
Okay.
it's, I want money. I'm never going to say it's not
I know,
detrimental.
we all want money, but
it's
I
not
just want
gonna-
to
it's
be
not gonna
like, that's,
create
we've
dysfunction
been
within the
promoting it for we've been promoting it, so I just want to be clear that it's just something, a conversation that we've been having as all the kind of the conversations with the May revise have been released, that the CTE is something that is, everyone's kind of concerned about, because there's not ongoing support for that, at least at the state level. So just trying to figure out concretely how that works for us. Is it what percentage of our CTE programming would that impact? If it's 1%, 0%?
I would have to get
0.5%?
you that number. But again, I think if you look at what we're doing in the classroom, as far as the classroom teacher interaction, that part is within LCFF. It's some of the add-ons that we're doing, maybe some of the trips, some of the outside professional development and stuff like that. That's being funded with those grants.
Okay, it just would be helpful to know, because, as we adopt future budgets.
My understanding was some of the facility pieces too might have been with that, right?
It was,
Yeah,
as far
that
as
we
the
knew,
match, it
because we
was.
knew some of it was one-time money, so we used some of it in those ways too.
I will get that information for you. Full implementation. Okay, so what happens with full implementation is basically everything comes to a grinding halt. COLA takes over. You'll see COLAs in the out years of 2.5%, 2.75%, and once we're fully funded, that would be the increase year over year is COLA only. If for some reason the Prop 98 guarantee generates revenues above COLA, that's when they can do additional programs, maybe a new categorical program and/or have another discretionary incentive to the local control funding formula. But we've talked about this before, that once we hit that fully funded threshold, the amount of money that's going to be obligated is going to be more generated just off of the COLA versus the funding gap and a COLA, which is what you saw this year. The additional money is a combination of a funding gap and a COLA increase. One-time discretionary fund. So this is a very interesting concept that they put out there. In January, they said, we'll give you $48 per ADA. For us, it was about $350,000, and we're going to pay it to you in the 17-18 fiscal year. In the May revise, they said, we're not going to give you $48 per ADA. We'll give you $170 per ADA, which for this district, that'd be awesome. I said, we'll take that. But they won't pay it until May of 2019.
Maybe.
If revenue projections actually hit, according to forecast.
So,
that's why it's May.
So the way we're looking at this is we're not going to book the one-time May revise allocation because we don't know if it's going to come in. And what it actually does to us in our budget for next year is it reduces our revenue by $350,000 because the one-time money that was in your second interim report, which is highlighted on that slide in the red circle, will not be in your revenue stream on July 1st. So when you saw a $1.7 million increase in local control funding formula, it's 1.35 because that money's not in there anymore.
So I had the benefit of watching the Assembly adopt their full budget today. So they've actually said, no, you pay them now. You don't pay them in 2019. So we'll see by June 15th where it all lands, right?
Kind of why a question I had is like, why do we adopt our budget before the legislature adopts theirs? I mean, we can't really plan until they actually adopt their budget.
Yeah, I agree,
I know.
but it's just the law says that I have to have your budget adopted and set and done before July 1st if I'm going to continue to make appropriations in July. So it's
And we base it off the governor's budget, not the adopted legislative budget.
Right.
well, what we're doing right now is basing it off the May revise. If the adopted budget by the legislature is significantly different, we will bring you a 45-day revised budget in August. That shows you the changes of what happened in the difference in between what was finally approved or adopted by the state versus what we built our budget on. So why delay the payment to the schools? It's really interesting. You can see there's two different paths there. One path says that because of this aggressive revenue forecast that they have, and a lot of it being in the most volatile tax bracket, it increased the risk of a shortfall for the state. It creates a higher Proposition 98 Test 3, which they suspended because they're worried about a risk of over-appropriation or a need for protective action for the state. So the delayed payment, as far as we're concerned, is a state security blanket. They don't want to have to come back and make the cuts later. I can appreciate that to a degree, but however, the way that this is done, it's done on the Proposition 98 side of the budget. And of course, being with schools, I don't think that's where they should have done it. But let's talk about something funner than that. Let's talk about CalPERS. So there was, in the May revision, a $6 billion payment, supplemental payment, one-time payment to CalPERS. That was to reduce the state's liability for their pension obligation and stabilizing their contributions through 2037, 2038. This does not help school districts at all. It does not reduce our contribution and our expected contribution rate increases that we're going to see through 2021. It doesn't reduce our payments for this year. This purely helped out the state. It did not help out school districts.
And actually, my guess is it probably hurt school districts as they probably took some of the money that was going to be appropriated for schools and used it for this one-time payment.
Yeah, it could be some of the money that you see in the Test 3 suspension. Mm-hmm. Where they're actually getting the money from, though, is they're borrowing money from the Prop 2 fund and the surplus money investment fund, and then hopefully they will pay it back at some point in the future, because theoretically those funds are not supposed to be paying for CalPERS, but they're allowed to do those interfund borrowing. So no direct benefit to schools from that. Here's a slide, just one of those, hey, if you ever wondered where the money was going, for every dollar that CalPERS has, 62 cents is investment earnings, 25 cents comes from us, the employers, and 13 cents on the dollar comes from CalPERS members. Here's some legislative things that you might find interesting. There's 3 bills that affect pension payments. First one is pension investments. The first one being AB 946, which prohibit CalPERS or CalSTRS doing investments with any firm that is working on border wall construction. This was held, it's now going to be a 2-year bill, got held in committee. Second bill is AB 20, which has to do with investments for the Dakota Access Pipeline. And the third one, AB 1597, which has to do with investments owned or issued by the Turkish government.
And I can say this, my labor organization has actually been lobbying against all of these bills because anytime you divest from something, it impacts the amount of return that we can get as employees, or at least CalPERS members.
Yeah. Thank you, Board Member Pizzati. But what the whole purpose of me bringing this up, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, the issue is when an investment policy is based on ethics and beliefs and not on rate of return or the return on investment, it runs the risk of having a negative impact. CalPERS and CalSTRS said our return on investment is not going to be 7.5%, it's going to be 7%. Right. And the stock market is the hottest it's been in a long time, and they're downgrading their investment return. And this has got to have an impact on it. So not that I agree or disagree with, just to go, why are they not making money in the market right now? It's because some of their policies are not based on return on investment. They're based on an ethical belief or whatever. And that's fine if that's where we want to be. So special education, got a COLA. 1.56%. It's going to make the new per ADA rate about $8.31. The reason I bring this up is because there was talk about looking and doing this new funding model for special education. It's not in the governor's budget. They said they'll continue to look at it over the coming months. I saw a quick document that looked at the total $1 billion or $500 million, was it? I believe $500 million to change the way that we're currently funding it, and they just don't have the money. So that's why they'll continue to talk about this. Child care and state preschool. The deal that was made in 16-17 for child care and state preschool, that in the January budget proposal, they were not going to fund. They have reversed their position, and they are going to fund it as part of the May revise. You see the new rates there. It's going to bring the reimbursement rate up to the 75th percentile. For us, it's more about what's going on in state preschool. There's 3,000 new slots, and we received COLA on our reimbursement rate.
Can I ask if that covers does that cover the preschool program? Or do we still need to offset that cost?
I have to look at it. I have to look at it and see what our final budget brings. But no, it's not moving up as fast as our costs are.
Okay, thank you.
There is a preschool alignment proposal, which we like because a preschool alignment creates some flexibility for us with, from the staffing side. We can have higher ratios when a teacher is credentialed and has 24 ECE credits or units. It gives us an exemption from Title 22, and Title 22 has to do with some licensing and inspections, and so it helps us get through the process faster if we need to move or open up a room. And we're allowed to enroll special needs students if they're over the income eligibility requirements, as long as we've already served the eligible 3- and 4-year-olds. So there's some attempts to create some flexibility within the preschool program. Real quick, statistical stuff for you to have, just in case anybody asks you the question. You see the funding gap increases, 43, 71, 73 on the bottom of the page. It takes another year after that to get us to full implementation. You're going to see a multi-year projection that's going to start going more towards the conservative side. The last couple of years, we've assumed 100% of the Department of Finance gap funding. We'll probably bring you a multi-year projection that's 50 cents on the dollar, which is the same type of projections we used in years past when money was being cut. So we're going to go a little bit more conservative with the multi-year projection, show it to you, and then you guys can give us direction on where you want it to go.
Can you remind me what these acronyms stand for? The SSC, DOF?
Department
Yes.
of Finance.
You have three factors in the bottom. You have the statutory COLA. The SSC gap funding percent is what is being recommended by school services. Okay. And DOF gap funding percent is what is being published by the Department of Finance. In our financial model, we use the Department of Finance number so that we can see what it is. And then in the multi-year projection, we decide, do you account for all of it, or do you count for 75 cents on a dollar or 50 cents on a dollar, depending on the amount of risk that we want to take in our multi-year projection.
Thank you.
So can you talk about the difference between the school services model and the Department of Finance? What's the
It's conservative. They're just being more conservative because as they look at the trends and they look at a budget that's been built with mechanisms to allow the state to get out of it, they do not believe that those funding gap percentages are obtainable.
But it's also political,
right? I look at it as being conservative. I try not to look at politics and things like that. I just think it's conservative when you look at the way the economy is going, the trends and the cycles. We're due to cycle down. Again, we will put 100% of the Department of Finance number into our financials and show you what it does and then make a recommendation on how to move forward in years out so that as a board, you guys can decide how much risk you want to assume in your multi-year projection. We are almost done, I promise. Mandate block grant, we apply for this every year. Here's the rates. And as always, the governor then gives $1,000 for the other mandates so that people who are not in the mandate block grant still have to provide those services. Routine restricted maintenance account, 1718 to 1920, the middle, we are at 3%. We've been at 3% for a couple of years. We'll continue with 3%. There was a comment about having to go to 3% once Prop 51 passed, and they clarified that to say if you received an appropriation from Prop 51, which is the school facilities bond, you'd have to go to 3%, not automatically. We've been at 3%. We'll continue to be at 3%. CalPERS contribution rates, there you have them, so you can see them. Rolls across from 15.8% and in 2023, 2024, it goes to now 26.8. So they've dropped it down a little bit, but they haven't dropped it down to what it was before. Remember, this rate, before they started putting them up, the employer rate was 13.25%. So when they get done, it's going to go from 13.25 to 26.8. So that's doubling the rate.
When was it 13.25%? What year?
I go back a couple years, I'm going to say it was 12, 13. And in years prior to that, it was less than 13.25%, but they offset it with a reduction to your revenue. So in between the expense you paid and the offset to revenue, it equaled 13.25%. It was in the old revenue limit formula. It was called a revenue limit reduction offset. Only schools had to pay it. So we've been at 13.25% until the last couple of years, and it started to ratchet up the last couple of years.
What are the classic members continuing to pay 7%?
The classic members are anybody who was hired before pension reform, and pension reform was like
2013.
13, yeah, 3 years ago. Funding CalSTRS, again, same issue for CalSTRS, except theirs actually looks a little bit worse when you start running through the numbers. They did their actuarial and they updated their rate of return from 7.5% to 7%. And they actually acknowledged in their actuarial that members are living longer. And because members are living longer, you have payouts for a longer period of time. So in doing that, their unfunded liability increased from $76.2 to $96.7 billion as of July 1st, 2016. Graphically, here's what it looks like. The blue on the top of this chart is not a good thing. That is money that they don't have to pay. If they went out of business today and had to pay out their liabilities, they do not have enough money. That's what the unfunded liability is all about.
It means that our members are living longer.
It does. Mm-hmm. It means that they got to change the contribution rate, and that healthy schools program created this blue line for us. So, sorry, Mike. So funding CalSTRS, there's your rate for CalSTRS. You see both the pre-pension reform employees and the post-pension reform employees, the rates that they're going to have to pay, and of course the employer rate going from 12.5 to 19.1% by 2021. Once they hit the statutory rate, CalSTRS can then kick up the employee rates by no more than 1% a year, and I believe it caps at 12%. So final thoughts. It was a little more than 10 minutes, sorry. I did it as fast as I could. May revision, certainly better than what we thought. I think we have to appreciate the fact that there is still somewhat of a focus on education, although some of the mechanisms that the state's using to balance the budget we don't necessarily agree with. And so we're nervous about sustainability of what they see over the next 3 or 4 years. And as we noted, when the $1 billion payment comes due in 2019 for the one-time payment that's been delayed to May of 2019, you will have a different governor in the office because Governor Brown will term out and half of the legislature will term out. So there's a little note that school services wanted to put on the refrigerator that said, hey, don't forget to pay schools for that money that you deferred in 2017. That's it.
Good.
And so, to clarify, if the 45-day revise is much different, then we will have a new document than this, and we'll revisit this. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, what we'll do is we're going to bring you a budget based on the variables that are in the May revise.
Okay.
And if in between what we bring to you, because the draft comes to you on the 8th, because it's in support of the LCAP, and then we'll bring you the final document on the 22nd.
Okay.
If on the 15th, they pass a budget that is materially different than this, we will bring you a 45-day revise in August.
Okay.
And then we'll line item, here are the differences in between the budget that you approved and the changes based on the budget that the state finally adopted.
Okay. Perfect.
So in preparation, oh, sorry.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
So in preparation of June 8th, I just want to kind of, when we see it, there will be, you're taking a more conservative 79% funding gap for 2018 and so on and so forth, correct?
Yeah, for the out years and the multi-year
For that,
projection.
yeah, so
Well,
for that, I just want to, when it comes to us, I just want to know that that's what you're bringing forth as you're factoring the 79% funding gap for the multi-year projections.
Yes, on the multi-year projection, we will actually, there's the full multi-year projection that has multiple line items, and then we have one that we consolidate, and we'll actually note right there, the Department of Finance says this, and we are doing 50 cents on the dollar or 75 cents on the dollar, which equals a different number. So we clearly call it out so that you can see that the difference in between the DOF estimate and what we're actually putting into your multi-year projection.
Okay. And then the other factor is that you are actually also factoring the delayed payment, the 2019, the $1 billion payment to 2019. So that's factored as a deficit, correct?
Well, it's less revenue for next year. We're hoping that all the work that we've done, you are going to have a structurally balanced budget for 17, 18, but it will not be in the funding stream. You're right.
Right, okay.
So if that changes, if they say pay schools in 17, 18,
Yeah.
you'll have a 45-day revise. That'll trigger a 45-day.
No, that's okay, but we're adopting a budget on June 8th. The final deal is going to the governor on June 15th, so it's a matter of like a week. From my mind, but I know from a logistical standpoint, you're going to come back to us on a 45-day. It's just for us to kind of, as we have a conversation on June 8th, there's kind of variables in my mind of conversations that are currently happening that will change a week later after we adopt the budget.
Well, you won't adopt your budget till the 22nd. You get it as a draft on the 8th.
Okay.
You'll adopt it on the 22nd. The issue is, on the 15th, if the governor signs the budget,
Yeah.
and it has, $1 million in it, I'm not going to have time to change your document for a meeting on the 22nd because it might be posted already.
Right.
Well, and he has until June 30th to actually sign the budget.
Does.
Right.
So that's where, but if he has signed it, by the time we present that budget to you, we'll present the budget to you as it is in form, and then we'll say, by the way, there was a change to the state budget, and so these factors are already out of
Okay.
they're not relevant anymore, and then you get your 45-day revise.
Helpful.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I make a motion to go past 10 o'clock?
Second. I was just going to say that.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
I have these notes on.
I too vote aye with an apology. Okay, thank you very much, so that takes us now to the consent agenda. And we did already pull and go over 011, and we had the changes that were made at the beginning to 04. So, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay, so the motion was made by Board Trustee Akala, it was seconded by Vice President Pizzotti. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye. That takes us to action items. Approval of Resolution 1617-30, school facility programs. That's P1.
Excuse me, President Kirby Gonzalez, I just wanted to, with the approval of the board's consent agenda here, just wanted to give a shout out to Mr. Eric Forsman, who is now our appointed high school assistant principal, and also Nicole Latimer is here, who is now our new NTSS program specialist.
And with that, we do need to have a board discussion later about moving our consent agenda up, so you don't have to say so.
Right.
Thank you. Congratulations.
All right. With that, good evening, President Kirby Gonzalez, Board, Cabinet, Superintendent Luna. As you know, on December 8th, 2016, there was a statewide general election. California voters approved Proposition 51, authorizing $9 billion in school general obligation bonds. $500 million of that was allocated for charter school facilities programs. With the board's approval on February 16th, 2017, WSD opened its first dependent charter school, Washington Middle College High School. The current facility is in need of interim repairs beyond planning, roofing, and mechanical upgrades. With our limited resources available, the district is looking to maximize the amount of repairs and renovations to the site beyond what we can do. By passing the resolution 161730, the district will be able to apply for state funding. So that's what I'm asking you for tonight.
Okay. Any questions? Any comments?
No.
Okay.
Motion?
Yeah, actually. Okay, I'll just say.
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Yeah, it is a frustration, obviously, that the money comes through this avenue, because obviously we have a lot of need in our public schools, and we wish that we did not have to necessarily always go through this avenue. But we're happy that we have this option right now.
Right.
Okay, is there a motion to approve? Or at least I'm happy.
Motion.
Second.
All right, motion was made by trustee Wong. It was seconded by Vice President Pizzotti. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I too vote
Wait,
aye.
it's a resolution. Does it
Oh,
have to be
that's
roll
right, it's roll call vote. So I will say, I vote aye. Board Trustee Cruz?
Aye.
Board Trustee Wong?
Aye.
Vice President Pizzotti?
Aye.
Board Trustee Akala?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. All right, that takes us to, I got moved around. That takes us to P2, the approval of English Language Arts adoption for transitional kindergarten through fifth grade students, and Amber Lee, Assistant Superintendent, Education Services.
Good evening, Board of Education, trustees. After a very comprehensive and extensive piloting process, our staff, including every one of our certificated teachers, is making the recommendation and requesting approval of our TK through 5 McGraw-Hill Wonders, World of Wonders, and WonderWorks ELA textbook adoption.
Okay, any comments, questions, or a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, so the motion was made by Board Vice President Pizzotti. It was seconded by Board Trustee Akala. This is not a resolution. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I too vote aye. And we've already taken care of P3. And so we're moving down now to board governance. And with the board governance, I'd just like to say, unless anybody has an issue with it, I think we should move our consent earlier in our meeting.
That's a good idea.
Thank you, President Kirby Gonzalez, and we certainly will do that for our next meeting. So this evening, trustees Pizzotti and Wong and staff bring forward for the board's first review, Board Policy and Administrative Regulations, Series 5000, which represents students. In this first read, trustees Wong and trustees Pizzotti did meet with us, with Dr. Parsons and myself. They have reviewed the entire series and has made some suggestions that we would like to walk the board through, not necessarily page by page, to get to page 483, but specifically to go through the recommended changes or suggestions for the board to discuss. And because this is such a large policy, I'm going to take my motion from you as a board that if you would like to stop at a certain point and then pick up at the next board meeting, we certainly can do that as well. I just wanted to offer that, so.
It's really only
The rest of
these.
the board, I know
It's
Norma
only
is
these.
not feeling well, I'm on my last leg, but if we want to do it, we can.
The religious address
I'm just not very enthusiastic on it.
The religious address isn't in here.
So if the rest of the board wants to go, that's fine. We're having a committee meeting.
Anybody have a comment to make?
So it is, so we know that it's really lengthy, and there was something that was not in here that we actually spoke about at the very end of our Monday meeting that wasn't included, so we can bring that up. I just, President Kirby-Gonzalez, however you want us to go through most efficiently, I want to thank staff for actually making what I think is a significant change from CSBP apology, where throughout the 5,000 series that had said parents and guardians, where we now actually say parents, guardians, foster parents, caregivers, and education rights holders. So including everybody is a highlight and thanking, and that's a major change and departure from CSBA.
Are you
But
saying that that's not on here?
It's not on here, but
Okay.
it's been made throughout, so just wanted to note that is a departure, but I'm fine with everything else. There's one thing that Trustee Pizzotti and I talked about at the end of our Monday meeting that wasn't included here, and we can just add that when we get there.
Okay, then why don't we have this discussion next board meeting? Sound good? Okay. Let's go.
You want to do next board?
Can we also quickly just confirm?
Wait, so we're going to move to the
We're
next
going to move
meeting.
this to the
Okay,
next board
got
meeting.
it. Okay, perfect, thank you.
I'll be better, yeah.
Yep, and then,
Do you need a motion to do that?
next board.
What was it?
Well,
Look, you would do it at our special board meeting?
maybe we can do it at our special board meeting. Can we get confirmation on our special board?
Special board meeting, because I didn't mention it's my
Yeah.
son's graduation.
It is your son's graduation. Are you able to make
I
that?
believe so, if you don't push me over the edge.
We don't, well, because we are paying for an outside, person to come in, and so that was the question of if we're, yeah, but I want to make sure that if we can have everybody, or at least that we have 4 board members. I'd prefer everybody, so I wonder if we could just send out a poll to just make sure. And then if there is another date that works for everyone, otherwise, maybe we can go ahead with our date as is, and then add this to that meeting, if appropriate.
Not sure that they would go out, but people's, the summer and vacations and
I know,
things.
it makes it hard,
Yeah.
so,
I was
yeah.
just gonna say, we could probably get this done quick.
No, not that part, the special. All right. So we have future agenda items. Is there anything else to add? No? Okay. So can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Okay. The motion has been made by Board Trustee Cruz. Is there a second?
Second.
The second was made by Board Trustee Wong. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I too vote aye.